Good evening, Cryptid fans, Bigfoot fans, Jeffrey fans, Barry Browning fans, and Brother Blaylock fans.
I'm not even my fan.
No fans.
No fans?
Me either.
Okay. Anyway,
tonight.
Slim Pickens. We're back in the studio, unfortunately. We really enjoyed being at the campground last week. But how's Jeffrey tonight, man?
Short.
Other than feeding your face.
Short.
Here we go.
I'm sorry. It's going to be 2 hours of me getting it back. I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah, he's got a little getting even to do, he said.
Oh, I know I'm going to catch hell tonight.
It's all good. And we got the beardless lumberjack with us tonight. All the way live from Oregon.
Yeah. Oregon.
How's everything out west, brother?
It's good. Beautiful day. Got some work done outside. It's living in paradise.
Can't ask for much better, can you?
Nope.
Any bears? Got any bears?
No bears. No bears lately.
All right. And we got a guy, Barry Browning. It needs no introduction. How's Barry?
Barry's good.
Barry was good till Jeff.
Other than with Jeff, right? I'm fine, man. David. I love David. Love Jerry. Jeff's not on the good list right now.
He'll elaborate on that as we go through the night, I'm sure. Many times. Many times, so. It's all good. It's all good. But anyway, yeah, I'm excited to have, of course, I heard a lot of your early recollections from, God rest his soul, Carrie Arnold's show. And when you've been on there before, and of course everybody else's show. You get around, Barry. Okay, you get around.
He gets around.
Like I said, when we talked earlier, I'm not going to go back and have Barry go all the way back and start at the beginning because everybody's heard his stories, and some probably haven't. But I'm sitting here doing this like I'm Trump or something. I'm sorry, you can't see it.
What do I do with my hands?
Yeah.
It's like Jeff will fall asleep right now. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
Sleepy Jeff, huh? But anyway, man, poor Jeff. He's going to run and hide. I hope you got big shoulders tonight, brother.
I always do.
I was talking.
I'm sorry.
We're going to start a couple times. We're going to go over to the farm there, and we're going to have a little bonfire, and or a fire pit or something, and do a live show from over at Jeffrey's farm sometime. So that'd be pretty cool too. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Maybe we'll get screamed at or something. So, but anyway, yeah. And as far as my escapade from the campground last week, I think I got a couple of good photos that I can use against my April photo that I got over there, and it should show the exact area and show that there's nothing there this time around versus the first photo. So I got to dig into all that. I've got 2 audio recorders to go through, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully, and there's one other photo I'm not sure yet till I get it on the computer. My other job is keeping me busy with the filming, editing and stuff. So, but anyway, Barry, the only old question I'm going to ask, what got you started in this crazy subject? After that, you can take off and do what you want.
Well, I was born a poor black child in Mississippi. I wanted to say that for so long. And I probably shouldn't have, but I did.
Just don't talk about Puerto Rico and we'll be okay.
We're going to laugh a lot tonight, y'all, I hope.
That's right.
I kind of knew about them and then forgot about them, as you get in your 20s and 30s and all, you get busy. And I can't remember exactly what sparked it. I do know the first time I heard the Sierra sounds, I had seen Patterson Gimlin, and I've always, from the first time, thought that was real. And boy, I know it's real, in my opinion.
That's an ex-wife, Wendell. Let's get that right.
What's that?
Wendell said screamed at by Jeff's wife.
Jeff's ex-wife's probably about 9 inches taller than him, but I got in. I had moved from Mississippi over to Alabama for job purpose, and It was a rainy day. I was in sales for a company called Homes Transport, and it was just a rainy, nasty day, and I finagled my way into not having to leave the office that day, and I hit the Sierra Sounds up. And I was just, I don't, blown away by them. Can't say I've heard a lot of what's on there since then. But I mean, I'm not doubting them or anything like that. It's not my place to do that. But found the Bigfoot Outlaws about the same time I found the Germer show, Wesley show, Sasquatch Chronicles. Back, not that long ago when, there's more Bigfoot shows on every night now than there were the whole week back then. But when I just never dreamed they would be down here, once I started hearing them talk about it, Kumbo, and the rest, Vicky Fulcher, Dan Rick, Matt, Jim, it just sparked the interest, in it. And being yelled at when I was in the middle of getting divorced for the second time from the same person. I am that statistic. And we got yelled at one night out on the back porch. We lived off of Persimmon Creek was our back property line, and it runs into the Big Black River. And we got yelled at probably about 8:30 one night, right at dusk. I mean, as Kumbo would say, dusky dark. And it just, from that point forward, it just started steamrolling. I literally set out to befriend the outlaws, because of the knowledge that, that they had. And that was probably one of the most beneficial things that I did, along with the other folks that I, met through them, Larry Porch, Debbie Jones, now Debbie Porch, Mr. Newell, and Bam. There's a list of them. And Shelly Reed. There's no way I can say all the names. I won't be able to remember them all. But got into it with them as far as like cutting my teeth with them. Never was an outlaw. I don't want to mislead anybody. And that's when Mark and Larry went over and started Sawdust. And I just kind of, bled over to over there with them. I did this forever, y'all. I wouldn't even let them put me on camera forever. And then when I wanted to get on camera, Larry wouldn't let me on camera. Because he said I cursed too much. And he was right. He was absolutely right. But they never would tell me when they hit record. But did a lot with them, and did a lot with them with the Outlaws. That's where I met them, was actually on Outlaw Campouts. People like Cam Bugner, met him on my first, camp out. Joe Parker, just a lot of good folks. That's when I met Vicky, that camp out, which was a little north of here at Grenada Lake. But actually, that was it. And I know this, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. I'm driving down to the campground that we're going to, and I'm looking at this tree break to my right, and the tree was huge. Probably a foot. Seemed like it was a foot round. It probably was a little smaller than that. And then I look over to my left and realize I've just passed the campground, or the road to the campground. So it's in the middle of BFE, Mississippi. So I just took my truck and kind of went off to the right side of the road and just spun the back end around. That's when I, saw the first one, I believe, head on, just right there. Because I think what happened actually was when I spun that truck around, I think it believed that I knew it was there and it was crossing. I think it was just going to cross behind me after I passed. But God is my witness. I knew it was huge. I knew it was a blondish brown color. I knew there were arms moving, but I couldn't see the individual arms because it was like a cartoon. They were moving so fast. The legs were doing the same thing, and my eyes actually didn't catch it until it had come across out of the wood line, across wood, and was going into the wood line on the left. Well, literally 3 minutes later, I pull up to all these people I'm meeting at this camp out, wanting to just bust out and tell everybody, but also having a little bit of sense about me knowing if I go up and just tell them right when they're gonna think I'm nuts. And they thought that anyway, but they didn't think it because I told them that. But we actually got our first. I got my first whoop on audio on that camp out too. I believe it was either that camp out or the next one. And I'll tell you all the weird thing about that is we probably had 20, 25 people spread out about over 40 yards. And I recorded on the phone. It wasn't a long recording. Didn't think we, had anything on there. I was, of course, paying attention to everybody else there, and they were, just sure they were around. And about the time you hear me tell Jim King that they're flanking us, that whoop, just let out. Nobody heard it. And he's plain as day on the audio. And that was my, I guess that was my first time I stuck my toe into the, the W word. But you can't, you get into this and do it for long enough. I forget where I was last night telling somebody out in chat. If you don't, if you got somebody new to this, then you ain't got to mention the word to them because eventually they're going to bring it to you because something's going to happen. But that was, and then, went on with Sawdust and, the LDL thing. And, thank you, Jim King. I always said I'd tell him thank you because that man taught me how to call. Thank you, Kumbo Baker, for all the shows he did with him because, man, there was so much knowledge in those folks. Learned so much from them. But then bled over to the, the Woodwalkers, even though Spencer was there. Sorry, Spencer. I'm sorry, Spencer. I think Spencer hates me sometimes. And he probably should, but I still think you should have auctioned off that or raffled off the camper at the last one, but we won't talk about that. And then start, really just getting out on my own, trying to find somebody in Mississippi to research with, which I really never found anybody that wanted to, to do it as much as I did or could do it. And then you're trying to, marry your schedules up and all that good stuff, which is hard to do. But, and then really just started realizing that, man, not only are they here. First time I ever talked to Kimbo on the phone, I told him, I said, I'm joking, but I'm not joking. Kimbo, quit telling everybody about these boogers in Mississippi. Tell them about the ones in Alabama. Tell them we just got a couple down here. Because for some reason, folks, states right next to each other. Heck, Alabama used to be part of Mississippi. But the two states act so different on the way they acknowledge, what they see. Most folks right here, they're going to keep it quiet. I can look on any sightings map, and almost every anything that I've had happen, there's not a whole lot that's just real close, and up on it. But it's just, and I've always said it, Mississippi's just so rural. If you're not under Memphis or around Jackson or on the coast, it's we've got some counties with over 30,000 acres with 2,000 and 3,000 and 4,000 people living in them. And of course they have all everywhere in their that they would want to hide and so forth. And of course I heard Kumbo when he was living outside of Tupelo. Actually say on their podcast that way back then that best booger habitat I've ever been in. And lo and behold, that's where my dad and his family were from, which was Monroe County. Now Kumbo wasn't in Monroe County, but I knew he was right around there in that general area. My mother grew up in Philadelphia, Mississippi, which is right outside the Native American reservation. That I can remember having anything happen there. I do remember the feelings I would get though, but I just didn't know where to assign them to, back then as a kid. But my other grandmother in Monroe County, I mean, she talked about them all the time. I think the one in Philadelphia maybe mentioned them 2 or 3 times at the most. But of course, they fell in the group of yeah, we got boogers, but ain't no Bigfoot around here because no, we were just marrying the two together and realizing they were the same thing. And they just steamrolled from there. And luckily, I met Carrie. I'll always cherish the fact that I did meet him, because just the things that he allowed me to do with him, just kind of boosted me to where I didn't know I needed to be, but where I wanted to go, in the back of my mind. But matter of fact, on the there was actually two 168s. The first one, the C word got us. And about half a week of stuff. We were going bouncing from campground to campground, and we ended up just then having to go home. But it was about a month and a half after he had the deadline for telling him you wanted to go, and Jeff Townsend, thank God, told me into. He's like, "Barry, you got to ask him." And I did the next day or 2 days later. This is probably the fourth time Jeff had told me that in a couple of weeks. And luckily, I don't know why, we knew each other, but not very well. But Carrie said, I got one spot and I've been holding and hoping you volunteer. I was like, that's great. So let's do it. And that's a place I wish I could get back down to. Being 13 hours away, it's kind of hard to do that. Because that was one fun week. Met some good folks. Saw things that and a lot of folks that are here that know me, it's the orb. That's the orb story. But we videoed those orbs four nights in a row, maybe five. I think it's four. And I don't know how it happened. Carrie, when we kind of released it like 45 seconds loop once on Sawdust, and I didn't really discuss it with Carrie before I did it. But the first video had come out from Carrie, and he said, if I don't use it, and even after I used it, all that evidence is yours. The last day we were there, I watched it. I saw it on the laptop where he had it downloaded, but I figured out down the road that Carrie for some reason never got that footage. He had 8 minutes of what I think the other guy, I'm not going to even call his name, MZ, we give his initials. I think he actually put a video out on it of it being an orb, and he probably believed it was, but it was actually a flashlight that was sitting on its end under a pavilion on a picnic table. But when Carrie told me that, I asked him, why didn't you use that? It really wasn't nothing to it, and right then is when I knew something was wrong. I've seen it. I've seen the video. I saw it 4, 5 nights in a row. I've seen the footage from it. And I know you're intelligent. There's no, that's what I'm thinking to myself. I said, there's just no way that you thought that was, just nothing. And kind of putting 2 and 2 together. It may have been after he passed. I don't remember exactly right at the moment. When I finally it dawned on me, I was like, and I asked him, of course, how long of footage do you have? He said 8 minutes. I knew he had 28 or 29 minutes of those nights.
Wake up,
So
Jeff.
Wake up, Jeff.
Sorry, Barry.
No, correct, Jeff, anytime you need to. You're not going to bother me.
I'm enjoying the commentary.
And if I didn't have this going on with my right eye, I hope I would have seen it first. And y'all, if anybody asks a question in chat, forgive me. I'm not going to be able. I don't even have chat brought up
I'm
right here.
trying to listen to you and watch chat as well if I see something.
Me too.
But
No,
yeah,
you're
you
not.
are. Yeah, you're doing a good job.
Chat don't scroll on your eyelids, Jeff. Under your eyelids.
Yeah.
The 168 stuff, though, yeah, that's interesting to hear an actual insider's view.
Yeah,
of all
it
that.
is.
Those orbs, hey, I'll go to my grave, put my hand on a stack of Bibles. Those orbs were intelligent. Almost everybody that was there ended up seeing them at least one night, because we take the same like 3 to 4 or 5 people, and then we'd have a couple or 3 new people that would go every night. So everybody saw them. And I'll never forget, somebody asked one time, well, what can I expect when we get there? And I looked right at it and I said, when we walk up that little road, I said, it's going to be sitting right there in front of you, about 8 foot off the ground. And I said, and I'm going to probably have the feeling that it's going to be, you know, wondering what took us so long, because this is probably the third, maybe the second or third night. Well, probably the third night. And lo and behold, we walked up, there it was. But our last night there, which we had the least amount of people that we ever took out to where we were seeing the orbs, which was just 4 people. We pushed it that night. Christopher Noel pushed me way beyond my limits, because I looked up, and I mean, I'll be honest, it for forever we couldn't video the orbs. We were trying to get them with FLIR. I think Stevie B may have got a little bit of them on the FLIR, but somehow or another, because I'm not the smartest guy in any kind of room that I'm in, but it just dawned. I figured out that we'd turn the FLIRs on, and then it would retreat back into the woods. But you could still see it, but because it would go behind a tree, but you could see it lighting up behind it. So we turned everything off, and I happened to have bought some night vision binoculars that weren't, you know, FLIR type thermals. They were night vision. And this was probably, we may have seen this 5 nights, because I don't even know if we videoed it the first night. I don't think we could get it. I think it kept running from us. But I mean, I can remember telling them, I got it, y'all. And I will give Mark credit. Mark felt, you know, knowing what to do, because we got stuff happening all around us. You know, things are breaking. We got movement. They're getting actually hits on the FLIR. You know, as long as they're not pointing towards the orb. You know, they're in the woods. And he kind of eased my mind by controlling that with everybody else that was there. So all I really had to concentrate on was just filming the orb. So I'm embarrassed that nobody's seen more of the footage than they have, but I'm really hoping that's going to change here first of the year, because just the 45 seconds it's on Sawdust, that's some of the most mind-blowing orb footage I've seen. And it's, you know, and we'll go ahead and say this, you know, I film lights in the sky too. I'll say that the first I ever heard talking about the lights in the sky that everybody says are stars. They orbit through the sky like stars, but they blink different colored lights. But because they orbit like that and they don't shoot across the sky, everybody ends up going back to their stars. Yeah, I'm telling you, stars do, and if that is a star, it should not be blinking different colored lights. But these are, of course, you know, tree level, a little bit above tree top a couple times, but you know, between the top and, you know, about 8 feet off the ground as far as, you know, the tree level. A lot of the time it was at the furthest away of 7,500 yards. This was an old Native American site. It was beautiful. The way it was, had been landscaped way back when, and then the, you know, state of Florida just kept it, you know, nice. The last night we were there, we literally were asking it to do things, and it was doing. And I will admit, there was a few times we asked it to do things that it didn't do, but it did so many of the things we asked for it to do. It was just obvious. I mean, this thing's got its intelligence somehow or another. I don't know why. There's been a lot of folks, and I didn't know this about a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, that a lot of folks had tried to go back there and film those orbs. And to my knowledge, I don't even think anybody's seen an orb there since.
Okay. Wow. That's
Now, how that happens, I don't know. You know, but we had over probably 20 people that saw it. At least, you know, 15 to 20 over the week. But that last night we pushed it to where we could literally walk no further closer to it unless we're going to start wading through, you know, about knee-deep water. And I mean, I just had the feeling from the orb. It's like it got to the point of it just kind of, and I've said this before, it was the appearance of the way the branches and all were in the trees just happened to be perfect, where it kind of looked like a little rectangle or area. And that thing eased up in that little, in those tree limbs, kind of, and I always described it as it kind of went up a little bit and then went down, almost like it was a cell phone. You were sitting down on a charger, like a home, not a cell phone, a home, you know, cordless phone. And for some reason, I knew I was just getting that from it. I was like, hey, we pushed it, you know, way far enough. And I was so mad at Christopher Noel because I looked up and Christopher was gone. And I had asked him not to do that, but I'm glad he did, because once I saw him take off towards it, I was like, well, man, I got to go too now. I mean, so, we both ran down there, but me and the other gentleman that was there, we'll call him Martin, it's not Newell, who's from Florida. We actually had a Bigfoot sighting there in the daytime, in the middle of the week. We'd already filmed them some, but I'm talking like some of the area that the orb was traveling over every night was where we actually saw it. And that's probably the one. We had a lot of foliage in between us, but I could see the eyes, and that's when I really, I could see the fear in its eyes. I could see the nervousness. I mean, actually frightened, because it was a younger juvenile, probably about my height. I'm about 6'1". It's about a foot taller than Jeff, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna hit on Jeff all night.
It's okay. I aggravate him every day.
I'm apologizing. I'm not. No offense to Jerry, I'm not apologizing to you. I'm apologizing to anybody that may be in chat.
No.
But
I'm catching it from all sides tonight.
Yeah.
Very
chat,
noble.
don't worry, the chat's all over him too.
Craig,
Oh,
just
man.
noble. Barry's got me.
But hey,
Yeah,
y'all
the
mind
worst
if I
thing
show
was
that?
really.
Y'all mind if I show what Mr. Townsend brought me to the last meeting right quick, since I brought his name up just a second ago? And I know we don't need to probably show it very long, with it being a weapon, but me and Jeff Townsend, I was telling Jeff, 'cause I don't carry in the woods. The only time I've ever carried in the woods was one day on 160, the first 168 that technically didn't happen because of what all was going on that year.
Yep.
And Jeff made me carry. And then after it was over with, I said, you're gonna make me carry, but you give me a freaking 22 pistol. Thank you. I guess I could have shot myself, and hopefully it probably took more than one bullet, but hopefully I'd still been alive enough to get the other two bullets
You
off.
shoot everybody's legs that's with you, so you're faster than them. That's what you do.
That's right. That's right.
So you can get away.
But Jeff, I told Jeff, as far as there's been some times I've walked up and just realized, because right here in central Mississippi, kind of south central Mississippi, we don't have the hog problem that they have in the rest of the state. You get 30 miles out, you're gonna find some signs, but it's just not like they have some of the problems they have in other parts of the state. So I'd mentioned that I'd love to have a walking stick that was actually a sword that I could inside the walking stick, and where if I actually needed it, I would have some kind of protection or whatnot. And Jeff Towns drove up to me at that camp at Holland, and gave me this. I can't express how blown away I was. Not because he did it, because that's just Jeff. Jeff's a very giving person. He'll give, like I said, he'll send all of us to the hospital while he's sitting there with, having a heart attack. I mean, that's just the way he is. He puts everybody before himself. But he pulled that out, and it had been a while since we had talked about it. And then I joked with him, but it's really true. He then went through a 30-minute spiel on how he was not responsible if I cut my arm or leg off. Because he sharpened it. Jeff's an old military guy, a mechanic in the military. And he sharpened it, and yes, it's sharp. But I had to remind him. I was like, Jeff, the only way I won't do that is if I used it as a machete. I said, if I use that as a machete, you ought to come take it back away from me. I said, that's too good of a. It's beautiful, but I can't express how thankful I am for Jeff for doing that. Met Jeff, on 168. He's another one that Mike, Stevie B. I'm forgetting some other folks. Lynn Parsons. I'm gonna say a name here that probably a lot of folks are gonna not really like a lot, but I will say this: I think he's been misled with a couple of things he said, but he's a bona fide researcher, and that's Blake from Lost Cryptids Conservatory. I forget the other one guy was named David, and it was another guy there. Quiet guy with dark. I mean, they were both bona fide research. I mean, they did. I mean, I saw Blake go off and stuff and he's from Michigan. It's summertime. We're in Florida, and he was bailing off in the woods at night, where I literally was looking around, going, "Man, I'm from the South, and I don't know if I would go in there by myself, and if nobody goes with him, he's not stopping. I could tell." But the Bigfoot world is what it is, and we all get misled sooner or later. It's just going to happen. But that was one heck of a week. I always tell the story about how it took me 12 and a half hours because I met Bradley and Hatcher. But I met them in North Florida, and just meeting them and going on down, I think it took 12 and a half hours to get there. It literally took me 2 days to get home because that's how tired I was. Because it was just so full of excitement, and the people you were meeting were just great folks, and you just wanted to talk to them as much as you could. In that last night, I don't even know if I've told Jeff this. I found the last night. It took me the whole week to figure out that my night vision binoculars didn't record audio, because I literally got them 2 days before I left to go down there. But I knew I'd recorded the last night on audio, which would have been when we were telling it what to do things, and it was doing it. And you can hear our amazement, when it does it. But I lost my train of thought on that. But just, great week. I can't thank Carrie. I always tell folks, I don't try to mislead folks. Me and Carrie weren't best friends. We were good friends, but we weren't best friends. A lot of folks claim to be his best friend once he was gone. And that kind of really got to me, because they never said that before he passed. And to me, that's just not right. But anyway,
Right.
just a lot of, just a great. It was a great week. The first time we did it, they closed Florida down before we ever even got out of Mississippi. So we ended up in Bienville National Forest, which is just east of Jackson. We ended up I actually was able to camp for a night or two, actually, where Carrie had on the land where Carrie had all this stuff happen to him, with his encounter. And I got to see Carrie, and I always try to say it the same way. Carrie was a man's man. That dude was 6'4", 6'5", 250. And if I got in a fight with him, I'd have had to shoot him. Period. Because he was just a big dude. And to see how terrified he was of that place, and even Florida when we got down there the next year. By the time he got to PJ's and he was getting over a whole bunch of it, and I was so thankful to see that. But when we were the first 2 times we went, take for granted the first time officially on paper didn't happen, but if Carrie didn't have anything to do, Carrie would pick up my axe and literally chop wood until he had something he had to do as far as the production of the documentary or whatever it was. He could not sit there. You couldn't. I don't think you could pay that man $20,000 to sleep in a tent for 4 hours one night. He was in that truck. And to see that somebody that's that big, that hulking of a man that's that terrified, it did something to me as far as just really realizing what you could get up on in the woods and not realize it until you're a little lot closer than you thought you were. Fortunately, I haven't had some of the like Donnie Miller, turning around and bumping into the darn thing's stomach. And other folks that have been just right up on them. So thank God I haven't had that happen and been that terrified. But you can't do it without being scared.
Yeah.
That it was just and through in every group, from outlaws to beasts to woodwalkers. That's that's how I met all of y'all. I know Jeff and David a little bit better, but I'm getting to know Jerry, who's a jam up guy. And it's hard to put into words just the friendships that you've made that. I mean, I can go a year and not talk to some of these folks and see them at a camp out the next time, and we just pick up right where we left off. So,
Patrick
I'm-
Noble, I'll interrupt you real quick. Patrick Noble was
Yeah.
asking if you live very far from where Carrie had his encounter.
hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
It was south of here, going, like I live almost in the center of the state as far as, east to west. Well, no, that's not true. It takes me 30 minutes to get to Vicksburg. It takes you an hour and 10 minutes to get to Meridian from where I'm at. Because I'm on the west side of Jackson, but and I'm not right in the middle of the state. I'm just a little bit south of it. We're actually right across from me and Mark Green are almost on the same longitude line. Um, uh, but it was I saw something there. What I think was one, and I was with Carrie when I saw it was two shadows moving down this little hill that had all these thickets in between us and them for about 30 yards. But I just looked off to my right and I see these just two shadows moving. And I turned around to say something to Carrie, and my whole body just said, "Shut up! Don't tell it." Because as scared as he was, I don't know if I was that scared. I don't think more credit to him. I don't know if I could have been there. I mean,
Yeah.
he was
Yeah, you
terrified.
watch him tell his encounter is I've watched it over and over, and you could just see that and
Yeah.
hear, he was
He did.
pretty shook up.
Carrie was. I always tell folks Carrie's more well bred than I am. I mean, he was better. He didn't sound so much like he was from Mississippi like I do. And he had, it was all our parents could do to get me to school and not trying to skip this that or the other. Carrie's mom made him read books and stuff. And I'm sure he didn't see the value of it then, but it showed later on in life.
Yes.
But unfortunately, I did get to talk to him on his way to Texas 2 weeks before all that happened. And I used to get choked up about it. I told myself I'm not going to do it anymore, and I'm not. But I really do wish that dude was still around. I do.
Yeah,
Because he wasn't perfect. He made mistakes, but y'all, I mean, when you're doing this the way we do it, everybody says, do it scientifically. Last science class I had was at Mississippi College over here. And it didn't teach me anything as far as these things go, and how to deal with them and so forth. So it's hard for us sometimes to do it, or for it to occur to us while things are happening to do it in a more scientific type way. But when you got folks that are out here putting the bill themselves, nobody better tell me that I didn't do it scientifically, because we're gonna have a talk. Look, there's no telling how much money I've spent over the years. Just in fuel, running up and down the Natchez Trace. I live close. Actually, as a crow flies, probably a quarter mile from the Natchez Trace. And then about 27 to 30 miles from that to the northeast, you run into the Big Black River. They're all up and down that Big Black River. It's the only river in Mississippi that's never been dammed. And it's all hunting camps or farming the whole river. And there's actually a law in Mississippi where, and I'm sure other states probably have it too, but you can't cut any timber down right there on any creeks or rivers because of the runoff, the washing away of the soil that's going to happen. And it just makes for the perfect habitat. They've like in the Delta, that's where we kind of maybe figured out that if there are some places that they're not in Mississippi, it's a couple spots in the Delta, but they still have places to move around or ways to move around because of the creeks, the rivers, and all that and so forth. So, and then I hate to say this because I kind of get scared when I do say it, but I wish people realize how close they got to cities. My last sighting was right off the Natchez Trace on a dirt road. But it's 5-6 miles as a crow flies from here. Because Natchez Trace goes north of Clinton, and I live on the northeast side of Clinton, Mississippi. And then it goes right north of Jackson, then of course goes on up through Mississippi, through Alabama, and up to Nashville. But yeah, I mean, Jackson's not a huge city. It used to be around 240,000 people. It's down around 165 now, and steadily going down. But they were right up on humanity, and it finally occurred to me one night I was actually sitting outside smoking a cigarette, and I'm looking at these two raccoons running across the road. I'm just thinking of how fat they are. And then I'm like, well, it makes sense because they got the wood, right on the edge of the woods and right on the edge of a suburb. And then I just epiphany. I was like, and that's why Bigfoot would be around here, in my opinion. You can get from the trace and that was my front door is right there to right over here in these woods, and never have to cross the road if you don't want to because you got culverts you can go under. Not that far at all. And I've been whooped at twice here at night, about 2:30 in the morning, about 6 or 8 months apart. And honestly, that was one of the top 5 scariest things that ever happened or shocking things because both times it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm going out just to grab something out of the truck. Something whoops from the woods, and I froze. I mean, literally 5-7 seconds, I couldn't move. Because your brain's like, I know I heard that, but your common sense is trying to talk you out of it. But the reality of the situation is that you heard it. So, they will come check on you at your house. I've had some folks ask why do I think they do that? You go to their area enough, and they know you're going to keep coming back. I think if you come down there and mess up, they want to know where you live because they coming. We've all heard the stories. But the last sighting I didn't finish that on that one. We were riding down a dirt road, and for some reason, I just had the feeling I pulled my flashlight out and I shined it. And I get the eye shine, what I think is eye shine. But a pretty good bit of foliage in between us, and it looked like the one on the left looked like both of them were laying on the ground, but the one on the left looked like it was, actually looking kind of, laying on the ground and looking like this, what we were doing. They were about 30 yards ahead of us on that dirt road. When I hit that flashlight, I hit it straight out that door. And the first thing I noticed was the eye shine up here. I didn't notice what the flashlight was shining on. Jason Dobbins, is it Jason? Yeah, Jason Dobbins. Mr. Dobbins and his daughter Dixie, who was always on Carrie's channel and chat. She saw the same kind of eyes I did. It was, if you imagine a square and it being 2 L's, put together. The top and inside were was green, and then the other part was yellow, and it blended in the middle. Pulled up as where it was like right outside, the truck still a good 20 yards off in the wood line, and they froze. I froze just staring at them, and I picked up on this in the last month or so, and should have picked up on it a long time before that, but they weren't going to move, I don't think, and then I say, well, maybe that is something just reflected. And and I heard somebody else in the last week say that, and it just dawned on me. I was like, that's what gets them. A lot of times they'll freeze, but when you start talking, it may, a little uneasy. And I'm whispering, so to an extent. But the minute I said that, the one on my left, that the head turned like this, so you see the eyes moving, the eye shine, and then you lose it, and then it comes back. And the minute it came back, they both stood straight up and went in opposite directions.
Wow.
And about 20 seconds later, I realized how close we were to them, and the fact that they didn't go 5-10 feet, and I'd lost both of them. You're trying to shine the light both direct. You lose one of them, and then you're trying to find the other one, and you can't find any of them. And that's when I realized, I was like, man, they could be sitting there about to jump in the back of the truck right now. But they actually closed that road down. I went back about 5 days later in the daytime. And I go there fairly often, not every week or anything like that. I've got a reason where I don't research areas, and numerous times every week after week. We can get into that later if y'all want to, but there's just the health problems I've seen people, have from that. Some just told me, not to do that. So I've always been real big on just trying to get wherever I can go. Whoever's having a camp out, let's go. Something happened in Mississippi, let's get, and we can get up here and go camping, let's go. But that was, I say that's the last time that's the last, just full on right there in front of me, probably 15 yards away. Once I pulled the truck up, right there, that it unmistakable on what it was. But I literally had talked myself out of it because of how far the eyes were apart. It was that they were that far apart. I just, even though I've been doing this for a while, I couldn't wrap my head around them, they being that far apart. But it's a perfect area for them. There's 2 major power lines that come through there. There's a county dump that's right there. I call that icing on the cake little thing. The dumps, the chicken houses, the Tyson processing plants and stuff like that. They love those areas. I mean,
What a
not
feast.
saying they're getting in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I say what a feast for them, especially the dumps, as we know here on the
Yes.
peninsula near us. Yeah,
There's several dumps around here.
yeah, yep. It's about 5 miles away from here. 4 miles.
Yeah, that's about how far this one is away from here.
And it's a good area down here on Deer Creek.
And y'all, we got deer. I've been back here, I think, around 12 or 13 years since I moved back from Alabama. I think I've hit 6 or 7 deer.
Oh my
And I know
goodness.
Carrie used to talk about how many deer, but there's, I think the last count they had is either 2.3 million or 3.2 million, just in Mississippi. I mean, they're everywhere. The weird thing is, go to Bienville National Forest, go to Homachilla National Forest. I'm not saying you won't see deer, but you don't see them like I think you should see them. They don't seem to be as numerous in those national forests. But you can go right now up the trace. I mean, at this time of night on the trace, I mean, the speed limit's only 50, but you're taking the chance of going 50 for 100 miles down the trace because they're on both sides of the road. I mean, and they keep it manicured and all that stuff, but it's good grass right there for them. But the Natchez Trace is, Big Black River and the Natchez Trace are 2 things that I've hit up a lot around here. But there's so many national forests. I mean, and just to give you an idea on how big Bienville is, just Bienville, and it's not the biggest one. The Soto on the coast is the biggest one. Salt Fork is 17,000 acres, maybe a little shy of 17 or 17 and some change. Bienville National Forest is 182,000 acres. It's more than 10 times bigger.
Yeah.
I never realized that until I actually looked it up on Google a couple of years ago. And that's when it kind of just really started sinking in on how rural we are around here. Some of these counties, 35, 40,000 acres, and even if they get 12 or 14,000, people in them, you take the top 3 or 4 towns out of there, you don't have about 2,500 folks left, spread out over, a little shy of 30,000 acres, and everybody's, living right there on the road. So there's just so much woodland around, woodlands around here and habitat for them, to be able to survive in. We got a lot of creeks and rivers, and we stay humid, and we get the rain, which they're going to be around water. You want to get away from them, just move somewhere where you're not close to a creek or a river. You've got a lot better chance of not being around. Kind of hard to do on this side of the country, and probably even in David's area, but that the desert area, once you get further east from Oregon and Washington, and I know there's some desert type area, high desert I think they call it, and those areas, but they're even there too.
Yeah, there's a lot of sightings in Eastern Oregon actually.
Yeah. I think Jeff asked me last night why I thought they were so belligerent and can be so violent sometimes in Mississippi. Of course, my first answer was what our answer is for everything when it's summertime. It's like, man, because it's freaking hot. They're aggravated. I said, man, everybody here. I said, man, a 90-year-old woman will cuss you out in Mississippi in the middle of August. I'm telling you, don't hit it. Don't come here sideways the wrong way. But it's just, I caught on real quick that if you don't have a cave system in Mississippi's, the Mississippi River's flooded so many times and pushed so much silt and soil out, over the Louisiana and Mississippi, that we don't have the caves in central and south Mississippi. But like I've told folks, I said, imagine some of the hollers that we have. I was like, 50 to 75 to 100 feet down. I was like, now imagine a full-grown Bigfoot and the size of their hands and how strong they are. I said, how long is it going to take them to dig in the side of that hill at the bottom of that? And I said, man, they have a 2 or 3 bedroom house dug out that hillside for the days over with. And I do think that's what they do. I think the ones that have to be out when it's the hottest and raining and all that stuff, of course, they're watching. That's how they've been as successful as they have been, because they're always watching. And I think a lot of folks that research this don't understand how much that they watch. And a lot of times that you're not going to hear them. I mean, you can pull up and make all the noise you want to. If they're looking at you make the noise, they're not going to answer. The answer we've gotten the calls at LBL and other places, it's never right up on us. Kumbo is the only one that I know that can get out of the vehicle and do the same call and the darn thing answer them 40 yards away. I've never been able to, to do that. But I've had to, explain to some other folks is I don't anywhere around here, I don't do a lot of calls. Because if it's somewhere I'm going to go back to, they don't seem to treat you the same way if you first dealings you have with them or second or whatever. If you right off the bat, you're kind of fooling them on something, But a lot of folks think if you get out there and do a call, wait 10 minutes and nothing, you don't hear nothing. Well, they're not here. That's not necessarily true. They're just not making any noise. Then they're going to be, you pull a FLIR out. I mean, I know with my night vision, you can take a FLIR and I can see the beam coming out of it, which it looks kind of like a flashlight, the way it spreads out, and first time I saw that, which was in Florida, it all made sense then on what they were seeing, and what the FLIRs, even the night visions, the beam that they put out that we don't see, what they're seeing, and I've tried to tell Spencer, and I am not picking on you this time, Spencer, if you're out there.
He's asleep.
Yeah, it is. His wife probably made him go to bed. I'm sorry, I was sitting there picking on him and I forgot what I was going to say. I got to quit that. But I kept telling Spencer, when you hear him at your house, dude, I said the first thing you do is try to go live. And I understand that. I said, but I said, they've already got eyes on you. If they see you start messing with a bunch of stuff, they're not going to make any noise. So to get you an audio recorder where you can just take something, have it on, and all you got to do is reach down there and press one button, and you don't even got to pick it up. You walk back over there, mess around with your vehicle at the house or whatever. I said, you're going to be a lot more apt for them to, to make some more noise, and so forth. They're very, once we start fidgeting with a lot of stuff after they know that we've heard them, they will hunker down and get just, I mean, and I know it. I can't say that I can prove it, but if you hear them right up on you, they're intending for you to hear them, because they love to scare you. They love to intimidate you. And I know one time at LBL, after I got skillet on my Catahoula, we had to stay at camp because I didn't want to carry the dog out with some people that it was their first time to camp there. And I say, he's going to start barking and it's going to, it could ruin some of the night of that. And I said, I'll just stay here and guard guard the tents and the vehicles that are left and all that. But the 3 hours they were gone, and it's that same camp. I'm not going to say the number of it. It's that same campsite and that same campground that I think was talked about on Small Town Monsters, or but I think Mr. Groves may have been the one that said, I'll go ahead and say it's campsite 23. But I'm pretty sure that's the campsite we were at. But behind that campsite, Bama Murdoch used to camp there all the time. But it just goes up, little small hills all around the campground. Once the wood line starts, it goes straight up. They were crawling on that stuff the whole time they were gone. I went back and listened to some audio from it. You can't hear them moving around as good as you could in person, but I didn't realize how much my dog was whining until I went back, and listened to all that. And that's kind of when I started picking up on what he's going to do if they're around. And he still does this day. If they're around and we're in the truck, he loves sticking that, sitting up on that back, on that door frame in the back seat, sticking that head out, and the mirror's flying straight up in there. But if he comes back in and starts spinning around his little circle before he lays down, and he's whining the whole time like a low whine, there's a reason for that, because he when he whines, he doesn't whine like that. And he really don't whine unless it has to do with food. So. But I'm running my mouth. Y'all talk for a second.
I'm sorry. Vicky asked,
No,
is there ever a time you thought you wouldn't make it out of the woods?
Yes, but it was more my mind telling me that. I walked through. I feel like I'm repeating all this stuff, because I've told me and Jeff have talked about so much of this stuff in the last couple 3 months. But Far Indian Mounds, it's right off the Natchez Trace in northeastern Mississippi. Myself, Larry Porch, at that time she was Debbie Jones, and Martin Noble, and we were with outlaws, and they had been there many times before and would do calls. Hold on, I'm sorry, somebody was calling. They were doing calls, and they would get answers, and they would swear that they thought they were coming from where the mounds are, and it's about a half a mile that you have to walk from the little pavilion thing that they have built there to get back to that dirt road. And it's hard to find if you just go to look for it, because I went to look for it after that, and it took a second. But so what they did was drop us off at the little pavilion, and then they drove back down the dirt road. What we should have done is had two different vehicles and acted like we didn't know the other people were there, because if they were watching, and I know they were, because y'all, they're always watching. That's how they're as successful as they are. They would do the call, but we were getting answers from the wood line. In this little area, I would imagine it's a quarter to half mile long and probably an eighth or a quarter mile wide. And we walked through there at 2:00 in the morning. And I was literally terrified. I mean, I've said it before. I was like, I literally had to sit down before they got on the dirt road, and that was my come to Jesus meeting. It's like, look, you're either going to do this or you're not going to do it, but tonight's going to decide. Because if you can't walk with them out there, nobody's going to say anything to you, but they're going to be thinking it. And I literally sat down on the ground, just put my head, hands down. I just had to get a hold of myself, so to speak. But the whole time we're walking, I'm just terrified. And even when they answered, they were far enough away that it wasn't terrifying when they answered. But the way we were thinking is, if y'all are getting answered from the Indian mounds, they could run right past us. They could call from the other side of this Indian mound. Which is what we were kind of hoping they would do. But that was a terrifying night, but it wasn't because anything just drastic happened. It was just your mind can, and I was still fairly new at it. And your mind can really, everybody knows that your mind can, your mind can scare you sometimes, and you just know you should be scared. And then, later on you realize it was really for nothing. But I'm trying to think. I don't really recall ever not being able to, as far as being scared. All right, I got one. Bienville National Forest. I've told the story before about the gentleman that was feeding them, And this is back, and I take up for him. I don't say his name. I don't have permission to, but he great guy. But that was back when it was still 50-50 on feed him or not feed him. So I can't fault him for feeding him, but he left work that day. We'd go once a week, cooler full of fruit. He dump it into a cooler that he kept there. And this is over 3 or 4 years, and he saw little ones, females, multiple little ones, multiple females. And that, of course, he didn't know. We didn't know that. If I'd have been with him, I wouldn't have known that, to be scared that we don't have food this time. Because, I mean, nobody ever had something like this happen and then talked about it. But when they realized he didn't have that food, it's probably a 3/4 of a mile to half a mile from where that cooler was, because we found that cooler, 5-7 years later, walking down there. But when they realized he didn't have that food, he said it was like, they almost were like, surely you brought that. It's what he's thinking, that they may be thinking. And the minute that he didn't have it, everything changed. He got chased back to his vehicle. He swears up and down. He said, I can't prove it. He said, and I did not have the guts to turn around while I was running and look. He said, but Barry, I swear I thought I could feel that thing breathing down my neck the whole time. And right as
Why
he
did he
gets
stop
near the
feeding it?
vehicle, a few yards away, he forgot his wallet. I'm sorry, I should have said that. He
that's
actually had left his wallet at home, and he didn't know. Of course, none of us knew. I wanted to interview him, and I told him, I was like, if I can, and I said, that's the first point I'm going to make, is I'm not going to let you, fall under the, take the hit for, being the dumb one that fed him, because you weren't. We didn't know. But he went from, and this is kind of in the northern part of Bienville, back to Byron, Mississippi. Driving it, I'm thinking 40 miles maybe. I guess if you walk straight there, maybe a little shorter. But the Pearl River, which is the same river that ends up being in Honey Island, around Honey Island Swamp, it flows down to the Gulf. Kind of goes that direction, but I still don't understand how they did this. 3.5 hours later, him and his girlfriend lay down in bed. He said, in a minute that you don't really realize you're asleep, but you just dozed off, bam, on the side of the house. Terrified him. Well, that went on for 3 nights. Until the point of, and his girlfriend didn't believe. Say again?
Oh, because he forgot his wallet.
Yeah.
Don't forget your
y'all,
wallet,
when he was getting chased
everybody.
back, right. You got to pay that cover charge. When he was running back to his vehicle, that thing screamed at him, and he ended up on all fours, sliding on the grass to his vehicle. And then instantly, when he said, when I stopped, I'm still on all fours. He said, I just started projectile vomiting. He said, it happened so fast. He said, I didn't even realize I was going to be throwing up, and all of a sudden I was throwing up. Terrified him. But when he gets home, he's, I would have thought the same thing. Okay, I'm good now. Well, the next 3 nights, every time they would go to sleep, bam, against the side of the house. And finally, his girlfriend, a non-believer, sat up. I think this was the 3rd night. They did it once or twice. And she sat up, looked over him, and she goes, you need to go out there and apologize to them things. Now, she don't even believe in them, but she knows something's going on. And he's told her about the food and all that stuff by then. And he goes out on that back porch. And y'all, I'll go to my grave saying it. And a lot of stuff that I talked with Kumbo about in the last year has even verified it further. They understand English, and some troops, it was surreal when I heard Kumbo say, that troop right there, it had they mastered the English language better than most of them do. He said they all understand it, but these had to look, and I didn't get him to elaborate on that, but I just remember how surreal of a moment that was. But he walked outside and explained, he said, I forgot my wallet. I didn't do it on purpose. I apologize. I wasn't trying to make y'all mad. We've got to sleep. We both have to work. We haven't slept in 2 nights, because this is the 3rd night. And he said when he finished talking, pebble, I don't remember if it was a pebble or an acorn, come bouncing across the deck. back day. They never hit that house again.
Craig Schultz asked, I used to turkey hunt the Noxubee Wildlife Refuge in Mississippi and wants to know if you've heard of boogers there.
What was the wildlife area?
Noxubee.
Knoxville. I'm trying to think where Knoxville. Damn, I didn't think there was none that I haven't actually set foot in, but I've heard of it. Get that person, if that person will remind, if you can in chat, just throw the county that it may be in, or just part of the state it may be in. But no, there's no wildlife management, in my opinion. Wildlife management areas, national forests, state parks. There's none of them that don't have them. I learned from the outlaws that they thought and they believed, and they came up with all this information. I'm just getting it from them, but that there probably were a few spots in the Delta where the waterways got far enough apart from each other that they probably just weren't right in this little general area. But you also got to think of the Delta. They don't grow cotton in the Delta like they used to back 200 years ago. I mean, it's soybeans, corn, some cotton, but nothing like it used to be. It's some of the most fertile soil in America. Go ahead.
Up by West Point, he said.
Oh, West Point, yes. I know what West Point is. Is that Tom Bigby? Maybe it is Knoxville. Okay, I've heard of Knoxville. But I know that's kind of, you're getting up there towards Tom Bigby, and yet I will say they're all over Tom Bigby. But yes, if it's like north of here, I'm directly south of where MK Davis is from, about 30 miles. He's around or outside of Yazoo City. There's a Panther Swamp National Wildlife Refuge. There's a Delta Forest National Wildlife Refuge. Homachita, DeSoto. There's just so many of them. When people say them, you've heard of them, but every now and then you kind of blank on exactly where it is. Oh Lord, I'm blanking on the one that's up there in North Mississippi, near on the west side of Tupelo, which was near north of Sardis Lake. But regardless, yes, if it says National Wildlife or WMA or State Park, yeah, they're there. And they're, in my opinion, that's why I told Kumba quit talking about them, and here I am talking about them. But I heard Spencer say one time that to see sign in Virginia, you have to go into the woods to find it. Right? I know he's been to Alabama. Next time he's down, I'm trying to get him over here so I can show him. All we got to do is ride down the road.
This is a good question here from Jennifer Andrews. You understand they're getting one's attention, but is it playful? A warning not to come out? Maybe
if
a show of power? The side of the house.
If one slaps the house.
I think they were just aggravated at them. Honestly. Yeah. Now, how they got there? Yeah, I mean, running full speed, running full speed.
What you just said right there, is it a show of power? I'd say it's a show of power.
Oh, yeah. They love to intimidate. Yeah. They love to, because most of the ones you see at night roaming around, it's going to be the males. The alpha's not going to let the females roam like that, because he's trying to keep them all in his little harem, right there around him. Yeah, most definitely. And some of them, some are different than others. As far as how far they'll take it, some would love to terrify you. Thank God I haven't just been terrified. I have been growled at Bienville at that same spot where the guy got chased home from. And the guy I was with, I watched him. When I looked at him, he spun around and grabbed for his pistol. It's 9mm. Thank God he never touched it and definitely didn't pull it, because I know where it was. The little trail kind of went to the left, almost like it forked, but there wasn't a way to go to the right. And it was right after it happened. There was a dark area right there, and I couldn't even make myself look at it. And when we got back to the truck, I was like, "Did you ever think one would growl at us and we would turn like little soldiers and just march right back to the truck, talking about how we just got growled at?" We acted way different than I thought we would, but things like that happen. Even if they've happened before, if you've been growled at before, sometimes you just don't you can't predict it's going to happen. You don't expect it to happen. Had one answer a call in Louisiana about a month or two ago. I wanted to answer it. I was trying to get it to answer, but if I had to bet money, I would have bet we probably won't get nothing back. Because people don't understand how many calls you got to do to get something to answer back. And I've had to explain to people, I was like, I don't do calls all over, everywhere. I've never done a tree knock. I've never done a tree knock. I've never clacked rocks together. I've probably done some stupid things and still do it as far as if I'm in the woods, and I mean I believe myself on a tree structure before. And I love the looks that you get when you do that.
How did that
And
one go?
what nothing ever happened after it, but there is one time where we went back to it and it looked like they had something had just thrown a
I
darn
remember
fit.
you saying that.
He threw a fit. That was at Dean Stand, which is between here and Natchez.
It didn't do it every time you did it.
No,
It didn't happen every
no,
time.
it never came. It never we may be a mile or two from camping. Never had any kind of bad experience as far as that. Them doing what they did to him. But their senses are just. They've got human emotions, human type intelligence, and then they got the animal instinct and everything that animals are so much better at than us. So they're not. You're not going to do that and them not know it. But a lot of times I would do it. And it might not be right. I mean, I'm not saying it was always right there, but 10 feet to the side of it or whatever. A lot of times you do it and you just don't go back and look. But the time I went back and looked, I kind of quit doing it as much after that.
Yeah.
I got a question. Have you ever been out when Kumbo used his shofar?
Yes. LBL.
Okay.
Twice, I think. But I also was there when he was really kind of mastering on how to hit that note. And I'm gonna say this on Kumbo's behalf. Y'all don't go out and get one of them things. I want one, but I want to put it in the house, as on a shelf or something, because he knew he was hitting on something with that, but I don't think he understood. None of us understood how and what he was hitting on when he kind of discovered that information. So, because they come to it, from what I've heard from him it's almost like they really can't. They don't have. It's almost like they don't have a choice but to come to it. My biggest question, if you hear him tell about that, is that one time when he hit that perfect note, the coyotes came out of the woods and laid down in the road.
Uh-huh.
And me and Jared were talking about it, and I always thought, and I was like, why just the coyotes? Why didn't the possums do it? The raccoons do it? The deer? I mean, why just the coyotes? Kumbo may be right. Kumbo said he thought they did it because they run together a lot, and I don't know. It just seemed like it to be something more than that, but I don't know. I mean, and Kumbo's, Kumbo's deer, the goat of the goats in this, in my opinion. The information and the stuff is, you just don't. I mean, I was around them when I was younger, but I was visiting grandparents and stuff. One this month, one the next month for a weekend. I mean, he was there. Just like House. He was there. They're there right there amongst them. And it's a whole lot different ball game. They're close to here, but I'm still in the neighborhood. We're right on the edge of the Natchez Trace and it's just rural from here. But you just don't realize. I mean, it's a. I told a friend of mine the other night. I was like, when I first was getting into this, I was having a lot of spiritual doubt. With the God thing at that point in time, and I said, it wasn't in an evil way. It was just I was really questioning a lot of stuff, and I said, I can't write. Dealing with these things. I mean, you can't help sometimes, but just start praying and walking. But I've also talked to that same person lately, and I didn't realize that some could be rebuked and some don't seem to. It doesn't seem to work on, but the ones that it doesn't work on seem to be the ones that really don't mess with you a lot. I never would have dreamed that till I heard that. But you know, unfortunately, I've never really been in the position where I had to rebuke. Never had to. You know, now I feel crazy when I say it. I go walk. Me and Skilly go walk when this is over, and we walk towards the trace. If I get off and walk up the hill onto the trace, and then we, walk off to the side of the wood line, I'm gonna start talking. Hey, hold on. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sitting there talking to the damn dog. I can get it.
Yes, definitely.
He loves
I
my
got
mom. He's being punished by not being able to go in my mom's room right now. She's 90, and I got to keep him away from her because she'll accidentally, kind of trip her. Hey, look at dog. What are you doing?
got a question about. Do you have any theories about the oily handprints?
I don't know. I don't know what theory I would have. I mean, I've always heard about it. I just think it's just their makeup. I mean, in their DNA and their makeup, they for some reason they've got just the oilier, more oil probably in their skin, and it's probably because they have the hair and stuff. Down here in the South, when it's 100 degrees every day and the humidity's 85% and the heat index is 115, people think we're crazy because we'll wear t-shirts under t-shirts. But you realize real quick when you're young that you actually stay cooler that way, because it traps the sweat against your body, and it keeps it from being able to be seen on the shirt you're wearing on the t-shirt on the outside of that. The hair, I think, could really work in the same general way in the summertime. But I will say they're nowhere near as vocal, getting answers to a lot of things in the summertime. Because y'all, even at night, some nights in August, into July, August, September, and the whole month of September now. The heat index could still be 85 degrees here at midnight. And it's not like that every night, but half the time it is. And the nights that it isn't, it may be the heat index may be down to 80 or 80, 82, something like that. It's midnight.
It gets hot in Mississippi.
It's a whole man. Joe Parker in Louisiana too. Joe Parker and Pat can tell you about. It's just a whole different. But I'd rather take it than I've got a friend who lives in Canada. And he tells me how cold it is there in the wintertime. I start cussing. I'm like, ain't no way, man. I said, we may get that temperature here one night during the whole winter. I said, but y'all keep it the whole winter. And it's brutal, man. But I've never been a real big lover of cold weather. And until I got into the Bigfoot thing, I ran from cold weather.
Well, just wait till you come up here to visit.
No, depends on. Sometimes we get lucky and it isn't too bad, but boy, when it gets cold, it gets cold.
Coldest time I was ever in my life was at a NFL game, Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City, it was the playoff round, the wild card round. Kansas City Chiefs against Indianapolis Colts. And I'm from Mississippi, man. I've seen 3 snows in my 40 years. I was probably 40 about that time. It was just a couple years ago. But I'm lying. But anyway, I'm sitting there thinking, man, why are they walking all the way down here and then going that way? I was like, I can walk straight there through this. So I walked straight through the snow on the way up there. I know people in the audience are at home laughing right now, but I'm from Mississippi, man. We don't deal with it like y'all do. My feet got wet, and I was with my wife at the time, my ex-wife, my stepdaughter, and her boyfriend. He was a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and that was our present to him. Was we bought the playoff tickets, and then we took him up there. Well, of course, the females they went
Chev's in here, Barry.
Chev's in here said it snowed there last night.
Chev. That's
Chevs in.
somebody I've met through this, too. And another JMO person, Kirk Creek Cryptids, JMO person. I mean, I can name. There's just so many folks, man. I've met some that I thought were just as jam up as all of them were. And, sometimes we're deceived because it's easy to keep a facade up when you see folks in chat a couple of times a week, and then you may camp with them once or twice a year. If they want to fool you, that's easy. I mean, it's easy for them to fool you. Fortunately, I don't
Barry,
think.
I saw a question that I think we missed.
Yeah.
Do you think that when they're doing the knocks, you think they do that to correlate the number of people?
No, I
No.
don't think. And I'll tell you why. We talked about the audio I have. From in between hearing the people.
We need to get that downloaded.
Yeah. And y'all, on my behalf, I bought and I'm telling all of myself here, but I bought a audio recorder way back when, before the papers had been filed the second time on as far as getting a divorce. Well, I bought that thing for my personal use to hear what was going on. I wasn't trying to get it recorded or nothing like that. So I mean, and it was back at a time when they were still good recorders, but they didn't have the USB outlets. They didn't have SD card slots. Well, I didn't even realize that. I grabbed that recorder because I'm trying to leave it out there as long as I can. It's the oldest recorder. I get 20. It was out there for 48 to 50 hours. It recorded for 29 hours, and just like you hear everybody else say, when I got it in the vehicle and I turned it back on because it was off when I got it. I got 3 bars on the battery. But it recorded 29 hours of some of the best audio. But 3 times in that audio, you hear a tree knot, one knot, just plain as day. Was that a knot? It's definite. And there's a working farm there's a bridge that's right there that had been out for about 3 years. So that's another thing. I'll say it. I used to be kind of scared to say this, but the state of Mississippi, I believe, you start getting some Bigfoot sightings in rural areas, they'll shut a bridge down on that road because you're eliminating a lot of other folks from seeing it. And I think that's what they had done there. Holmes County State Park's been closed for 7 years. They said they've been remodeling the cabins up there. They ain't touched them cabins. And that's only what they've been doing the last 3 years. First 4 years, they actually were, drained the lake and were, working on it. But they will do that. I mean, there are things that they do to try to prevent them from even from getting up close to you. We got national forest around here, and I keep asking folks, why are we clear cutting national forest? Why, we're so, I was like, but it's always the part that's between the dirt road, and then they'll cut about an 1/8 or a 1/4 mile back. And I thought one day I just kind of thought about it. I was like, it'd almost be like training a dog. If they know they accidentally get seen 3 times in 3 years, and every time right after that you come in and clear and cut a bunch of timber off, they're gonna put it together. They're smart. They're very smart. They're gonna put it together that it's probably happening because they're being seen. In my humble opinion.
That makes a lot of sense.
It does.
The most intriguing thing about that audio you told me about was the truck pulls up.
Let me finish telling about I didn't finish the other. I don't think. But you hear the knock, and 2 cars went to this one farm, and there's nobody at night at these farms. There's just people that work there in the daytime. There's only a couple that work them. And then on the other side of the bridge that's out, you get one car that pulls up in that 29 hours. You hear the knock, and it just dawned on me. It's like, man, it just seems like they're so close, like between the knock and me hearing this a vehicle, and because it was still a distance away from the recorder. I started timing it, and it's like within a second and a half, all 3 times from when the knock happens, and then you first hear the vehicle driving up to the drive that's going to take you up into the farm. I knew every time. I was like, man, they're seeing that car way down the road, giving that knock, and it's just a warning. But here's what I think a lot of folks may get, and I did it forever. we get too caught up in everything means one thing. Now, I'm not saying tree knots can have just multiple meanings, but other things. I mean, and yeah, something here. Maybe they may have to do the same thing in Florida, but that doesn't mean they're going to do it in Maryland or Oregon like that. And it makes sense for a lot of the stuff to have multiple meanings, the tree structures, and stuff such as that. Because there's just only so many tree structures you can make that aren't just so crazy that people that aren't even believers are starting to notice them. But the vehicle that drove up, this was a very surreal moment in my life when I heard this. I'm sitting there listening to it. It's daytime, and they're a lot quieter in the daytime, but you can hear them moving around the whole time. And I think they actually a lot of times assign one of them to sit with their recorder if they can and keep an eye on it, because they don't really understand what it's doing. They just know it's not putting off anything like a FLIR or a night vision binocular or such as that. I'm sure they detect the batteries and all that, but it's nothing like a camera. But
Barry, real quick, I got another question here.
you didn't let me answer that one.
I think we all can probably weigh in on this one. The physical appearance depends on what region. I think that's got a lot to do with the area. Maybe.
Yeah, but you get the patty types.
Yeah, they
You
seem to
get
be
some in
everywhere.
Mississippi. You get some in Mississippi. I know you get. I think you get a little bit more of in Alabama. That's just me trying to remember. Hearing Greg and Kumbo and the rest talk about them. But I've seen some pictures of some in here that if I'd have turned around and bumped into this thing like Donnie Miller bumped into that one, and it could have been my height. That thing was so grotesquely ugly that I mean, they've changed my life in a lot of ways, just opening my eyes. But that could have changed in a very bad way. I mean, people don't realize how just shocking that they can be. I mean, much less if you walk up on one that's 8 or 10 feet tall and 4.5 foot wide. I mean, that's just a mind. I call it a mind cuff, and cuff's actually a cuss word that I spell backwards, so I don't say it. But anyway, it's just, I mean, but I kind of just dawned on me. I don't know if I've thought about it in a long time. It's like, man, the things that you learn over the years. Dan Rick used to be the biggest one about saying, man, I know less now than I did 20 years ago. And there's a lot of truth to that. But you do kind of start figuring some things out. It's just very hard to always put it on one thing. You just kind of understand what they may be doing with it. And I will say, like tree structures, X's, and all that. You're not going to come to Mississippi. Oregon's going to have bigger trees, and Maryland probably does too in their forest than we do in Mississippi. Especially since it's plant pines and cut them 20 years later, because that's how quick you can turn a profit on them. They're not going to make a tree structure bigger, so big that it stands out way back from the tree. Yeah, you're going to see it when you get up close to it, but it's never going to be bigger than the forest that they have. And I kind of learned that in Florida with Carrie, because there was no tree structure hardly in Florida, none. And that was the first night in Florida. We stopped, I think, 9 times, and I called 9 different times, and I didn't even get a coyote. But the ones in Florida don't make a lot of noise. We had no idea. It's kind of something we put together. I don't even think we put it together.
Ours aren't noisy at all. Ours aren't that noisy.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah.
You do not hear a lot around here.
It's and different troops are going to do different things. I mean, I've realized a long time ago that the sign that I was seeing in Mississippi, and which kind of led me to believe that there's a good bit more here than probably people really realize. If they're not communicating and talking, I mean, it'd be just like 2 deer out there, in rut season. I mean, but you don't get that, because I do believe there's parts of their territory that they let other troops pass through. But some of these tree structures are telling that troop that's passing through, you come through here, don't pass that though. It may be the X, it could, be a bow, whatever. You get the trees that are where you may have 3 or 4 trees. I've seen up to 6 or 7, and the tops are all woven together. You stand up under it and you realize, like, daggone, this is just like sitting up under a canopy in the summertime, at a sporting event or, camping or whatever. I said, it literally just, they weave it together, and it blocks the sun from it. I always thought the tree bows helped them. If you don't have with the tree bows, they can kind of move around a lot and maybe not be seen as much as if they didn't have the tree bows. Because if every tree out there is pretty much straight up and down, and then you get something moving, it's going to be a little bit easier to see. I don't know if every tree. I have a hard time believing that they all mean something too. I think sometimes the smaller ones just make them.
I know
they're
there's some
bored.
places around here, if you get off the side of the road some and you start looking around, you'll see stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in Bienville, South Bienville. I was kind of near Marathon Lake. Rode down this dirt road, came back down in about an hour and 15 minutes later. There was a pine tree pushed down over the road. I don't know why they didn't it wasn't pushed all the way down. After I saw it, I was like, I may have heard them do that, but I just didn't put 2 and 2 together. I thought it could be them, but I just never thought it was going to be, back down the same road I just rode in there on. I think I sent Mark Green a picture of that. That's 2 other folks that just jam up and just great folks. Mark and Rebecca. Got all the respect in the world for them too. And was glad that I got to meet. I know I'm kind of popping around, but that just reminded me about all the folks that we met, at the meet here recently. It was great to meet a lot of folks that I've chatted with in chat and just never, been able to walk up to them and shake their hand. Loved it. I'd tell anybody if we ever have it, next time we have another one, if you can get there, because we're gonna do it. We're not going. The ones of us that done it for a while, we're not Jesse James or nothing like that, but we're gonna do our best. We watch people when they go in the woods. We don't let folks. If somebody walks in the woods, 2 people, 2, 3, 4 people. If me, Spencer, Jeff was there, and Jerry was there, and David was there. We're gonna, in our back of our mind, we got it. We're gonna have to see them people come back out of the woods here in a little bit, or we're gonna be asking about them. I was glad to meet David at LBL, and I didn't get to meet him for just a second, but that chatted with David, in chat and seen him around for so many years. It's been I know a lot of folks have some hard times after they get into the subject, and I think there is something to that. I do. I don't think it hits everybody like that, but I'm so glad I got into it when I got into it. I really have. It's been an asset in my life.
Parker wants to know if you've been beat with a walking stick.
No, but I'm gonna tell you a story about that, Jeff. It was a day or 2 later, and it was like, it's got a compass on the end of it. I just thought that was so funny, not in a mean kind of way. It was just cute, and I was like, it sure does, don't it? I was jealous I didn't get one, no joke. But it's okay. I got one from Gary, and I got 1 or 2 from Gary. Newell made me one that's hard. It's hard to beat because he actually put little designs on it and all that, and it's got little stripes on it. And I didn't figure it out, but he told me, he said, every one of those stripes is an inch. He said, and there's 12 of them. I said, so we can measure prints. He said, yep. I was like, oh my gosh, I would have never thought of that. But I've never made a walking stick either. But I didn't get one of Gary's this time, but I did a time before. I think Gary thought I was crazy when I got Gary assigned to initially, because I was like, and stuff like that means stuff to me. I can't use that stuff in the woods. It's gonna be hard for me to use this in the woods. That what Jeff gave me. Not Yerington. Yerington ain't gave me nothing but a hard time. So I know him. He's lucky I even talk to him. He's
We know
lucky I
that.
still talk. He's lucky I still talk to him. I feel sorry for his Yankee drawer stuff. But I'm gonna show y'all something. I'm so good. I told Jeff I was gonna try to have it close to me. Patrick Noble, by the way, and Shelly Reed, LBL, at a meet before I ever get there. Go to a place that we're in a campground we've been before, but none of us have ever and it hadn't been dry enough for us to go to this park. I'm not gonna give a lot of details on the rest of it, but we spent 2 days with Larry and Debbie and all that. The prints were so great, and there were so many different sizes of them. We couldn't help but wonder, it's like, are we getting the wool pulled over our eyes here? But like I said, I finally just took Larry back out there and said, Larry, how would you think it though? I said, you'd have to have a crane lowering people down to do this. I said, or scoot around on cardboard, but you're going to have some kind of, mark in the mud from that, because it's a area that's covered by water probably 10 or 11 months out of the year. And that one little bit of time, y'all can imagine, most of y'all hunt, and know about animals. That's the perfect soil for them to leave a print. But Patrick and Shelly found that before I ever got there, but that's the print that I got, or cast that I got. It's the only time I've ever cast anything. Larry used to know the dimensions. I don't y'all probably can't see it that great, but it's I think it's either 16 3/4 or 17 3/4. Y'all can see that. That's probably 8 to 9 inches there, and a good 4.5 to 5 across the heel. If you notice this little boogered up mark right there, I learned a lesson. And I wish I'd have brought it in here. They were walking out to this area because they were eating freshwater mussels. And under this print was a freshwater mussel. It was a leaf over it. I removed the leaf, and then I removed the mussel. And then I realized, well, crap, now all the plaster's going to go down in there. But I didn't care. I cared nothing about y'all. I didn't care nothing about making a cast. I thought casts were stupid until I got this. Now I'm still looking for the next one. And yeah, you see prints, but to get one that's castable it's man, they don't leave a lot of them. And if they do leave them, they're not expecting a human to be there. They'll go out of their way to cross a creek. They'll go so far down the creek to cross it at its very slimmest point, but yet we still know how good they can swim. And I don't know if that has anything to do with the pad on the bottom of their foot and maybe not wanting to get it, wet. Because they can jump across it. I mean, you take 20-yard wide creek. I mean, they can clear that. I mean, I haven't seen them jump that far, but I know they can. I mean, some of the physical things they can do are just, I saw one time chasing a deer that cut at a 90-degree angle, and he didn't stutter step. He was like, he was running this way, and his head kind of cocked to the right. He sees me sitting there, and the next step, he's going perpendicular. I mean, at a 90-degree angle from where he was just going, and it was normal. It was natural. I mean, a human, we couldn't have cut. If we'd have tried to stop and been able to stop like that, we'd have just failed. But some of the physical things that they can do, that's what blows your mind. Along with some of if you get around, getting growled at, hearing a call that's, close to you, that's some life altering events right there. I mean, but I like it. I mean, I don't lie to folks. Why do you do it? I do it because I like the mystery of it. I always did. But I do it for the rush. It's one of the funnest things in the world, man, to sit there and do a call and then get an answer back. It's you can't even really describe it. And then you got to follow that up with saying, I mean, I can go out right tonight, ride down the trains and do 25 calls, man, I get one answer. And then go 2 weeks from now, and the first time I do one, and that's where it always kind of shocks you because you do so many of them and don't get an answer. And you do one, and then bam, it answers in 2 seconds. It's pretty crazy. But yet it's so much fun as far as what I like to do. I mean, I've always, the Russia thing, you know, the risk, you know, I don't take stupid risks. I wouldn't skydive. I ain't go, and I don't know if I'd ever bungee jump, to be honest with you, but I'll see it when I think it's a booger in the woods, and I'll go straight towards it. But you know, everybody rates things differently as far as in their mind or how dangerous it is to them. But I'm so glad we found this though. But there was probably 5 or 6 different. I mean, there was like it was smaller than this print, but like 2 prints like this, and then right in front of that were 2 baby prints that were facing the big prints. Like you could just, you could see it in your mind. It's like there's a mama here or daddy, and then the baby's right there in front of them because that's the way the prints are. And we knew nothing about prints, man. We knew how to see the normal prints we see, which there's so much pine straw down here and all that you see the indentions, but it's gonna be nothing you can cast. And then you got not only prints that are so perfect, but there's 4, 5, 6 different sizes. And then you can see the way and it's not just a print here and then nothing. You literally saw it come down from the hill, walk out to the water line, turn around, walk back. I forget who found it may have been Spencer that found the mussel shells on the hill. And Dan Rick had told me a year or 2 before that, he said, if you ever find some prints around a big body of water and you know they're getting those mussels, he said, if there's any kind of high area around there, search it good. He said, because you're going to find a pile of the mussel shells there. And lo and behold, we did. And I saved the one that was under that foot and got the mussel out of it, of course, and then glued it back together. And I usually have it with this so I can show folks, but what they were eating. But that was pretty. I don't know that print. I got to tell about that print though. I wouldn't.
That said, that was a 42-inch stride on that.
Yeah. Who said that?
Pat Noble.
And I understand why Pat knows. I mean, like I said, I would like to hear Pat, and I hope somebody has Pat on soon so he can. Because I'll be the first one to ask him, Pat, what was your feeling when when y'all walked up and y'all realized, because at first you're seeing it, but you're not believing it probably, and then you realize, okay, this is legit. That's another event that's going to happen. It's just surreal. But you look back on it, it's just a heck of a memory that that you're going to carry with you forever. And Pat's another person I was so glad that I got to meet. And, Pat's a jam up guy. He don't get near the credit he should. That's a good dude right there, man.
Yeah.
I told
we
him
got to get Pat on.
Yeah, we're gonna drag him on.
I tried to get him on tonight.
Well, yeah,
I tried to get him on tonight, and Jeff goes, I can't call him because he's already asleep. 3 hours later, I see him on what's the show? Yeah, Spaced Out Radio. Yeah. And I was like, Jeff, did you lie to me? I was sitting there thinking that. But
David, you want to ask that question there, or one of you guys?
Yeah.
David, you've been quiet tonight. We'll let you ask this one.
Y'all can ask anything too. Anybody that's out there, ask anything. If I don't know, I'll say I don't know.
So Jennifer Andrews is asking, do you think that male Sasquatch are attracted to menstruating females?
More than you'll ever know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know a story, and Jeff knows where I heard it. I'm not going to say their names. They lived in Oklahoma. They have some very tight relationships with the Native Americans out there. And everybody's heard about the stories of the not only getting snatched, but I'm just going to say the word that getting raped. But I was there when she on the phone and was being told that they didn't just rape the girl, they raped the girl and the guy. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my gosh. And it was so funny because she said, that girl had to go to counseling. And I looked right at her and I said, well, what about the guy?
Yeah.
I said, even if I didn't need counseling, I'm going to act like I do. I said, and of course, that was just, it was just hilarious thinking about it like that. But y'all notice when they're looking in windows, it's most likely going to be a female. If they look at generally in a house, it could be a guy, but they love adolescent, young adult females. And it doesn't just have to be
a female
when you're
dragon.
menstruating, it doesn't. I mean, it's anytime.
Yeah.
And they can literally run past you so fast, reach out with one arm, scoop you up. That hand's gonna go straight over your mouth, and you're not. If they do it right, I mean, and they will if they want to do it. You're nobody's gonna hear you, especially at night. Nobody's gonna see it. I'm not convinced they do all the. I've been into the 411 ever since it came out. I think it's a mixture of things. I believe in I know rakes were actually a fictional character, but people started seeing what was being described as rakes as fiction. But they're starting to see that, out in the wilderness. So there was no other word to describe to it. Pale crawlers. They folks call them. I know there's. I don't know if Greg knows this, but right there on the Mississippi Alabama line, right across from where Greg, almost straight across going to Mississippi from where he lives. There was one seen there twice. The first time one female saw it, and the second time her and her mother saw it. And that's I can't describe the feelings of if you've had a sighting, a couple of them, and then you have the third one or fourth one with somebody, whether it's a dog man, Ray. And I've never seen. I think I've seen a dog man, but I'll never be positive on it. But I've taken a lot of pictures that got those pointy ears in them. Well, I take that back. Wendell Mosley. I had a picture up on Facebook for 6 years. You know how on Facebook you got the little round picture that you put you picture yourself in there, and you got the rectangle one behind it. That picture been up for 6 years. Everybody that I've ever met in my life from high school and all that had seen it. Everybody in the Bigfoot community, including me, had seen it. Me and Wendell friended. One of us friended the other one. We accepted. With less than 24 hours, he's messaging me telling me about a dog man in my picture. And that's how long that picture was up there and nobody noticed it. And when I looked at it, I was like, how in the world? I mean, I could see how I didn't notice it. I said, but over that amount of time, how did nobody notice that? There may even be more than one in it, but it's in the place where you'll hear the outlaws talk about purgatory. And I call this place Miss Purgatory because it's kind of purgatory, Mississippi, but the dirt road cuts into the hillsides, and there's places there. I mean, it's literally probably 15 to 20 yards tall on both sides of the road. I've been there at night many times, and it's you kind of, it's intimidating getting out of the vehicle. It's so intimidating that I ain't gonna lie about this. I don't know if until I got the dog, I don't know if I got out of the vehicle much longer than 5 or 10 seconds, but about once or twice, I do like having, the dog, and I got a Catahoula on purpose because they're the Choctaw, they're native to the Choctaw tribe. And I figured if a dog ever was going to have any kind of DNA instinct on anything about Bigfoot, it's going to be that. A Catahoula, which people call hog dogs and all that good stuff. And if you've ever seen me in chat, it's his picture that comes up. It's not that he's better looking than me, but he might bite me if I don't put it up there. Speaking of getting bit, Billy Schilling, another person up there, he bit Billy at the LPL, and I still feel horrible. And I'll commend Billy, but Billy handled that better than I ever thought he could, and I didn't expect him to handle it bad, but he's been so nice about it. I bet I apologize 50 times over a year probably about him doing that. But I don't see and smell good. I smoke cigarettes, but I hear like a son of a gun. I don't know how I kept my hearing up. He's deaf, so it's kind of like our strengths. Whatever I'm strong in, he's not. What he's strong in, I'm not. I do think one night he tried to go after one. I won't let him. I used to let him run wild at LBL until I figured out, if he gets killed up here and I think they did it, I said, I'm going to blow half this place up. Because I didn't have any kids. Man, I couldn't stay married long enough to have kids with the one I was trying to stay married with way back then. And I wasn't looking for a death dog. I called about him because it said special needs, and I just was kind of curious on what that meant because I was seeing the picture of him. He was one of the most muscular dogs I'd ever seen as a puppy. But he was picked up the litter and bought by a breeder, and they get him home, and they realize that he can't hear. He's probably around $925 to $1,000. I think they paid for him. I sometimes I want to say it's $125 I gave for him. Sometimes I want to say $250, but regardless, I mean I got a heck of a dog for that amount of money. So, hey, now I will say this now. It's a whole lot different having a deaf poodle than it is a deaf Catahoula or any kind of dog like that. Especially Catahoulas because they're just and then being he's 92 pounds. If you look it up on Google, it's going to tell you that the males are 70 to 90 pounds. The first people that had him named him Hulk, which I thought was the most idiotic name I'd ever heard in my life. Spencer thinks Skillet's stupid, but because he actually asked me one time on his show, who named their dog Skillet? And I looked right in that camera and said, I do. And he didn't say nothing back to that. I said it and he sat there and stared at him, and then I started laughing. And then there's a reason behind the Skillet thing because he had a couple names before that. But like I tell everybody, y'all ain't change his name every day. He ain't gonna care. He don't come to that. Even though you talk to him, but it's all in signs and stuff. I mean, you got to sign to him. And Donnie Miller actually helped me get a jump start on the signing with him because he had 2 or 3 dogs that were deaf, bigger dogs that were deaf. So he kind of helped me out a lot. Just talking to him when I first got him, but he was probably 6.5 months old when I got him, so I didn't get the small puppy stage with him. But the good Lord above, I mean, I'll say, a good Lord above intended for me and that dog to end up together, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean, I'd probably die for that dog, to be honest with you.
Barry, earlier,
Yeah,
Parker
Parker.
said something
Who?
about
Yeah.
Parker
Joe
said
Parker.
something about getting spooked at LBL while you were camped by him.
All right. This last camp out, for reasons I'm not going to talk about, everybody was at one place, and we decided to camp down at the campground right next to it. But it's
And
it
this is
seems like
LBL.
it's right. It seems like it's a lot further away than it is because you got to go down a dirt road and then back down this dirt road. But if you just walk straight through the woods, they're not that far apart. And I'm pretty sure Joe has walked that. I know
He
I
did,
walked
yeah.
it. I walked it with Moggs one time, almost the whole thing. Until we just got to a point where it's like both of us were looking at each other going, I don't think we need to go no further. And I'm like, that's what I'm feeling too, dude. I'm fine with that. And we had his dog, Maya, I think was her name, maybe. The German Shepherd that he still has. And I hate that she's kind of last time when I saw him in Alabama, I know she wasn't feeling that well, and I hope she is feeling better because she's a good dog. But a cold front had come through that day. So, and I'm sure it's just like that in most places. When you get the cold front, it's not the initial, it's done drop the temperatures, but you got that wind that's still with it, which is, as you know, is it disguise, hides a lot of things that you're going to hear. Set up the tent, in the tent. I literally sat up the whole night. I'd hear it walking, and I've got a Hart battery operated spotlight that you can buy at Walmart, and I will say they are a good brand. I've got a chainsaw and some edge clippers that are battery operated from that company. And they all have done great. It's a very good light. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles, but when you turn it on, everybody knows you turned it on. But yes, we had. I kept hearing them. I've never ran that battery down, but by the time morning got there, actually it was a little bit before daylight. I had ran that battery down. It was full when it got dark, but about 3:30 that. Oh wow, Joe, you reminded me of a lot of stuff. Okay, we had the tent up. We're inside the tent. Because when you're at LBL has that mystique to it, and it's one of those things that can kind of play with your head. But people also don't realize that there's a lot of places they're always at in the same places around those campgrounds watching, and they're used to humans, But I'll turn at 3:30 in the morning. I had put a motion light that you get $1. I think I got this from Walmart. About yay long, solar powered, and I put it back there because I didn't, I was with Leanne. I didn't want people to. I didn't want, she's, diving, head first into this, and I didn't want her to get. I've seen people get terrified away from this, and I knew she was so interested in it. I didn't want that to happen, so I brought that on purpose and put it behind the tent. So if something walked up right behind the tent, it would go off. 3:30 in the morning. I need to tell you about the Emperor sign here in a minute, or what I think it was. But 3:30 in the morning, that light cuts on. I'm still wide awake. I got my feet on the ground, and I got my torso laid back in the bed, and I noticed that light cut on, and I just looked back like that, and there's an outline, a human-shaped outline, the shadow behind the tent, and I literally sat up. I think Leanne's even got it on audio. And you can hear me going, I mean, I can't say the words I said, but I was like, F no, nope, I'm not letting you're not messing with my head like that. No, you're not. But you know how it is. I mean, being a man, I mean, you might be like Jeff and your girl can kick your butt anytime she wanted to, but you still feel like you got to, really protect. Yeah. Wait till I tell him about the dog, Jeff. Now he's getting nervous now. That's hilarious. Yeah, saw that outline, and I just started saying this recently. I don't think it was a Bigfoot. I don't think it was. It was. If it was a smaller, skinnier than you would expect. It wasn't. I'm not saying dog. I'm not saying that. Although I know they're around there. It had seen that light go off during the night with me going back behind the tent, putting this there or getting this and bringing it back. So it knew the light was going to go off. And I'm going to tell you something right here on y'all show that I haven't said yet. Where that light was, and where that shadow was, it shouldn't have been a shadow. The light was shining out from the tent, but yet it was a shadow, and it was right up against the back of the tent. But yet there's a shadow right there. And it looked like, I'm trying to think of the guy, Lou, kind of like, if y'all remember Lou Ferrigno's hair, how it was kind of shaped. The dude that played Hulk, when he wasn't the Hulk, how it was, it was kind of, I have real bushy hair, real thick, and it never would grow, grow long, but it grows out at the same time. And that was kind of the hair, almost like kind of like a white guy with a little bit of a little kink in his hair. Nothing makes sense about that. Nothing. That didn't dawn on me at first. That shadow shouldn't have been where it was because he'd have had to be between the light and the tent. I would think for that shadow to show up on the tent, and the light would have had to be pointed in a different direction, but it wasn't. And it was right there. But I got about an hour and a half after we set up. And I told y'all this thing. I don't like cold weather. I put up with it and have learned to love it doing this over, the last, however many years. But all of a sudden I just start getting, here we go, 411 stuff. I start getting hot. I mean hot. I don't know what the temperature was, but it's probably getting down it's probably in the 40s by this time. We got a good breeze, and the chill factor is probably a little bit lower than that. And 40s is cold here. Trust me. To me it is at least. 40, 45. But I stripped all the way down to where I had nothing but jeans. I taking my boots off. I had socks, jeans, and a white t-shirt on. That was it. And then I started cooling off. Well, about the time I'm getting cold, Lynn had just dozed off on the air mattress. She just sits up, and I forget how she ended up with the trash bag. She starts just throwing up. And when I say throwing up, it wasn't, we really hadn't eaten a whole bunch because we kind of got there later than we intended, and we had to, trying to get set up before dark. And we were we didn't even realize Joe and Pat were down there, or we'd have been down there talking to them. But they were in an area where there wasn't a whole bunch of people, and so were we. But she did that the rest of the night. But she would sit up, grab that bag, throw up just a little bit, and then literally she would set the bag down on the ground, and then she would just right back in the bed and be sound asleep, which I've never seen anybody that's sick from food poisoning, the flu, or anything such as that. I never acted like that when I've had it. And the fact that she would throw up, but it wasn't, it wasn't it sounds gross that she's throwing up, but it wasn't, because it wasn't a lot to it, but yet she was still doing it. I'll be honest, I didn't put it together until I can't say for sure I put it together while we were there. It was either at the end of the trip or on the way home or a couple of days after being home. It just dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute. Because it was literally when I have a thought in my head, man, okay, now I'm getting cold again. It wasn't a minute later, she starts throwing up. And she threw up the rest of the night. Now, it may be an hour before she does it, sits up again, but it wasn't be like she's talking to me and then gets sick and then lays back down and talks to me. She would literally wake up, sit up, take care of that, and then just plop back down and be sound asleep. Made no sense. But I'm hearing so much walking around us. And we're across from the site 23. We're across from it about 2 sites down, maybe 3. So very close to it. But in the walking, it's obvious what it is. I mean, I'm not a big hunter, but I mean, I know, bipedal when I hear it. I mean, in the woods, I probably didn't know it as good as I do now when I first started it. But I mean, and they knew every time they would get close, I'd hit that spotlight, shine it straight up in the air, then I'd turn it off. We'd go 5, 10, 15 minutes, wouldn't hear nothing. But you got the wind blowing and all that good stuff. So you don't know if they're still doing stuff and you're just not hearing it. And then enough time would go by. And they can move without you hearing them anytime they want to. Most of the time when you hear them like that, they will step on a twig and accidentally break one. Yes, they will do that. But if you hear the constant moving around or the footsteps like that, and they know you're right there, they're doing that on purpose, I think. It's just they're having fun with you, man. They used to call it counting crow. The Native Americans and the outlaws were the ones that actually, taught me that term. But all it is, it's, I know Dan Rick used to call them thugs. He said, yeah, they just like thugs. They run around at night and just cause trouble, which was kind of funny to me, but he's right. That's what they do. I mean, but it's entertainment, That's why I tell folks, I said, you're always going to have one. If you're in the woods with them, you're going to have one watching it all times if they've got the numbers to do it. I said, when you get 2 and 3 and 4 of them, you're doing something entertaining. Because, they don't have to have that many of them watching you. And for them to sit there, that many of them watch you, you're doing something. But, like we've said before, they don't. Imagine living in the woods. I mean, I could go off the grid and live in the woods, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to get bored. There's going to be some boring times out there because of just when you're not having just, work to just survive. Well, they got surviving down to an art. I mean, but that was I'm trying to think of anything else happened that trip other than me backing up at about 20 miles an hour and tearing my side mirror off my truck. That happened, yeah. At about 1 a.m, there was a couple people in the campground. I don't know if Joe. I don't think Joe and them may have heard it, but man, it was so loud. I was like, "Dear God!" I was like, "I just woke everybody around here up." There was just one tree sitting out in the dirt road a little bit further than all the other. Well, about 1.5 feet further than all the other ones. I'm going straight backwards in the dark with lights on. I never saw that thing, man. Next thing I know, my passenger mirror is now a memory. I just got it replaced before we went to Alabama a couple of weeks ago. But Joe knows. Joe,
Hey,
yeah,
Barry.
Joe knows. Yeah,
Barry, we gotta talk about the trash can.
I knew you were going to say that. All right,
You told me to remind you about that.
I know, and I forgot about it until you said that just then, and I was wondering if that's what was coming.
This is probably one of the craziest things I've ever heard.
I'm not going to mention the name of the place because it's a high spot, but it's also a place that the wrong people get there. And me and Leanna camped there by the only 2 campgrounds on a campground on both sides of the road. We were the only ones there. That was quite an experience, but it was the year that it was so dry down here that we did, we got a little bit of some things happening, especially the first night, some sticks thrown, past the tent, skipping down the little dirt road, which don't happen if they fall out of the top of a tree. But the Bigfoot Outlaws were the first ones to ever go live from the field. Everybody can do it now. They were the first ones to ever pull it off. I will say it's around Grenada Lake. I'll say that. And Big Condiff was there, and he used to be he was the technical guy on a show called Campfire Shadows, which had I forget Shane's last name, but Shane has passed from cancer and since then. And it hadn't been soon. It's been a few years. Vic wasn't even really, I don't even think I knew when they would say his name. I didn't know who the heck he was. Never met him, and I didn't know them at this point in time. I'm just getting into listening to them and learning, and I'm just so fascinated, by everything that I'm learning from them. But Shane actually saw one that night, and everybody thought honestly that he was what's the right word? Hoaxing, because they didn't see it. And they're like, the person that was telling me about it tells me, she goes, I'm sitting there thinking, we don't do that. And I don't know if he knows this, but, and I'm not going to call him out while we're on the air. I was like, but if that's what's happening, he's fixing to get a talking to. They never said anything to him about it, but you could hear it in his voice, y'all. They're talking about shining a light over towards him once he realizes it's there. And he's literally, sounds like he's begging for his life. Please, no, don't turn the light on. Do not turn the light on. They still think he's faking. Well, they wrap up the night, and I'm getting to the trash can because it happened on a different time, but it's the same area. They're on the way home, and Dan's looking at the video footage, and he looks up and goes, "You know what? There was one." And he said it's 10 feet away from him, and it's huge. And it all made sense. How scared he was and so forth. But at another time, I think that time Kumbo may have been with him. At this other time, I don't think he was, but I'm not positive. Because unfortunately, I walked into the first camp out about 2 weeks after that little deal happened, and Kumbo wasn't around for a little bit. And I was devastated. I mean, I was a Kumbo guy for you. I mean, I love listening to him. But they had a trash can. They still have metal trash cans in these campgrounds to this day, and they had some people that weren't camping with them had thrown a bunch of scraps away and this, that, and other. Well, one of the Bigfoot grabbed that metal trash can and went straight up a cedar tree. That trash can is still in that tree. I know a decade.
I've seen pictures of this trash can. It's
I can't. Every time I go by it, I stop and take a picture of it. And I don't get by there much, but I mean, Grenada Lake is a hot
Barry
spot.
was there, and he sent me a picture of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll remind me, Jerry and David. I'll send both y'all a picture.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It's and the reason it's still there is because the way it's wedged in the tree, it's not sitting up like this where it just catches all the rain. It's not horizontal, but it's about as close to horizontal as you can get, without it being horizontal. So it don't catch a whole lot of rain over the years. That's why I don't think the bottom's rusted out of it to this day. And I'll be honest with you, I just had the thought that, next time I go up there, I might see if I can't find that tree, carry some ladders if I need or whatever, and try to get that darn trash can. But I thought it happened while they were on live because I knew it was the same place. But Vicky Porter told me that, or Vicky Ricky as we like to call her, that no, she goes, I don't remember that. She goes, but I know that Bear and other, folks used to go by there regular, not just that time that we went live from there. And I haven't talked to Jim in a few years, so I haven't had a chance to ask him, but I hope I get to one day. And talking to Jim reminds me of Slade and Donna, another two folks that I'm so glad I met, years back. They're just super people too. Yeah, it's still in the tree. Oh, and I was going back looking for that can, and I was looking at the right campsite, but the wrong tree. I remembered it being this tree, so well that I just knew it wasn't this tree that's about 10 yards away from it. And then I'm just happened to be standing under it the next time I'm there. I was with Lynn. I looked up and I'm like, oh my God. Lynn, look at this. And she goes, that's the infamous trash can. I said, yes, it is. Well, we started taking pictures right away because we couldn't believe it was there. They haven't tried to take it down. The Park Service or anything, such as that. Matter of fact, and I'm gonna tell off too much on where this location is. That bridge that's very close to there has been shut down for years, and they always got somebody working on it. But they don't ever seem to get no closer to getting it fixed. And that happens a lot in around here. I mean, they'll shut a bridge down in a heartbeat, and it makes sense to me. It's honestly it's smart. Because you prevent the through traffic. So the only people now that can possibly see one are people that just have to drive it to get to, where they may live. And these are all these places are out in the middle of nowhere. So this is, and everybody's got acreage. Whether you're poor or got money or whatnot, they seem to have some acreage. So, Lynn dropped a recorder there one time and went back to get it, and it was a dead turkey there. And I think we figured out that it was turkey season. And y'all forgive me, all the guys out there. I'll go fish any day you want to go fish, but I never have been a big hunter. Uh, I love deer meat. All that good stuff, but I'm sitting in the tree stand all day. I do, I've told folks, I said, now I would go sit in it. I probably wouldn't be worried about shooting a deer because I'm going to be out there for Bigfoot reasons. But, back in the day, I just didn't have any interest in it. And, my dad grew up dirt poor. Both of my parents did dirt poor. They hunted for their meat sometimes on a daily basis. And I think when he, got out of North Mississippi, got down here around Jackson and didn't have to hunt every day. He wasn't interested in it anymore. But I also know that I aggravated the crap out of him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking bad about my dad, but yeah, kids get on my dad's nerve. Especially me because we're not blood related. I was adopted, and I'm different from all them. They don't talk like I do. They're the ones that can sit here this whole time and not say a word. But my dad laughed at me on the Bigfoot thing, and he passed from. I'm not gonna get into that, but he shouldn't have passed. Somebody missed something on an elective heart surgery. They missed it. He was on Coumadin for 30 years. So when they opened him up and tied off that new valve they put in, it just kept cutting through his bones and tissue. Because they admitted they went back in on him 6 or 8 times, and like I said, I'd probably went back in on him 12 or 14 if they said 6 or 8. But it was almost like they came out to tell us that to even halfway admit we messed up. But he was never the same. He woke up. He was, for lack of a better word, I'm not trying to say this in a bad way, but it was just, he's like he woke up at 80 years old, mentally retarded. He was 3 years old, and he was a bad 3-year-old on top of it. He got so bad that I literally didn't see him the last month and a half. He was alive because I emotionally I couldn't take it. I talked him into, he came to me and asked me about that surgery, and I said, "Daddy, they do that surgery so many times a day, you're going to be fine." But he was nervous about it, and then that happens, and you can't help but think about it. But Jeff, hell, we may as well tell what happened the day of his funeral. The day he passed, we put him in the ground. Yeah, this is a good one. The day we put him in the ground. How I'm assuming the whole country's like this, but we put you in the ground. We're gonna pay our condolences, but then we're going to eat. We're gonna eat good. We're all at the church. We eat. We get back here at their house, and I open the front door, and the landline's ringing. Well, I run in there to grab it. Don't look at any ID or nothing like that. Figure, hello, it's my dad's voice. I always say it's his voice because I didn't see him, but I do believe it was him, and I don't believe it was him. And if people can say what they want to say, y'all can have your opinion or whatnot, and I respect that. You're not going to tell me that. I don't believe it was something demonic, some kind of spirit. I believe it was him, and I think it was because of the way he passed. It was so wasn't supposed to happen, and I think when he realized that he was gone, he wanted to tell somebody probably to take care of my mom. biggest regret I have in my life is that when I heard his voice, and I know what he sounded like when he was either mad or really stressed out and a little bit scared, and that was what he had in his voice. I threw the phone. I mean, I was in this room right here. I mean, I hear his voice, I throw the phone. But I look at the caller ID. My mom, of course, didn't hear his voice. She saw all this after the fact. I told her what happened. She's looking at me like, man, did you have to become a drug addict right after he died? That's really the way she's looking at me. I'm saying, I promise you, Mom. And then caller ID. What does caller ID said? It's his cell phone number on that caller ID, and that cell phone was in that room right over there in the nightstand. I still have the phone, by the way. Oh, I can't throw it away. It was one of those old Nokia flip phones, and it was turned off. But yet it was on caller ID. It was on caller ID. And I don't look for ghosts. I mean, I just, who's going to look for a ghost of their relative? I mean, I ain't going to look for other ones. I'm much less your relatives, but you just don't think you're going to see that. But I wished I'd have held on to the phone, but I mean, it just wasn't meant to be. I don't dwell on it or anything, such as that. But I've seen I woke up one morning from a dead sleep about 6:30 in the morning. I sleep on my stomach, and I jumped up and landed facing to the door of my bedroom to see a 80, 90-year-old short, older white woman in what I remember being like a white gown, and looked more like, looking back on it, just like somebody cut a sheet or made a nightgown out of an old sheet. And she's running to me and she's waving her arms like this. And she comes, and I've had people tell me they can't run through you. And maybe they can't, but when they run right at you and then they're gone, that's the only really thought that you could have of what just happened, is it just ran through me. Now, it may have ran out the other side and I didn't, whatever, I don't know. But that thing ran, to me, I watched her face get closer and closer and then gone. Yeah, I mean, I'd been asleep for 6, 8 hours, man. And I literally woke up, jumped up for no reason. Don't even know why I'm jumping up. I don't even really think I realized I had jumped up until after she had done the running thing. That was crazy. That was really, and I think a lady had died about 4 or 5 houses around the corner over here a day before that. And I never even wanted to see a picture of her because I was like, I said, I'm just going to think that maybe that was her. I was like, but I don't understand why she was running to me. It was like she was mad at me. And to get a little bit deeper, I was an orphan when I was born. I was adopted. Great parents. Were different type people, but they did everything that they could do because we didn't have a buttload of money back then. Don't now, especially where everything's been going up. But where was I going with that, Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff.
I can't remember.
Jeff don't know. He's half asleep.
I know. Man, Jeff, don't fall asleep, because I'm gonna tell you what we need to do. Jeff needs to fall asleep one night. We need to just all quietly just end the show, but yet let it keep rolling, and just let Jeff sleep until he.
There
Jeff,
was
I
a
had a
question
dog every
earlier.
time you fell asleep on me on the phone, including last night. Last night, I'd have $20. I mean, because he does it all the time. But Jeff works hard. He does. I mean, Jeff's the kind of guy you talk to him on the phone. I talked to him the other day. What are you doing? He's like, delivering the calf. I'm like,
phone all day.
you're delivering the calf and you're staying on your cell phone talking to me. He goes, well, yeah.
It's called
I just thought
Bluetooth.
that was so funny.
Yeah, he's Bluetooth headset, so he can talk while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark Green had a question about a half hour ago
That's
about the Teller, Mississippi dog man.
The what? Oh, Taylor. All right.
But Mark he signed off. He's at work now, so but I got
And
to
I'll
ask.
say it again. I'll say it again. One of the best people that I've met in this doing this. And I knew that right when I probably knew him before I actually met him, because you could just everybody gets, you don't have to have any kind of special powers or this, that, and other. Not that I do, to realize that seeing Mark Green on a couple of lives, he's just a good person, and Rebecca too. They're just good people. But Taylor, Mississippi dog man. I'm not. I think it could be. I don't have any proof. I think that could be a little bit of hype. but they very well could be there. I've been to Taylor in the last couple of years. Taylor's very close to Oxford, Mississippi, and if you got any kind of bushy people around Mississippi, it's at the University of Ole Miss, and the ones that live, around Oxford. But it's I mean, it's there's money out there. I mean, yeah, there's people that farm this, that, and other, but you got land, you got architecture that you just don't get in even in nicer neighborhoods and suburbs and stuff. Everything's different, but it's super nice and super cool. But yes, they could be there. I've kind of heard from a couple of folks that they thought that they preached Taylor up because actually, and I'll tell you, I'll say this to anybody because you can't get out there to it. Behind Sardis Lake, where Sardis Lake, the creeks and rivers that flow from the east into Sardis Lake, there's a bunch of that area of land around there on the backside of that is posted. Basically, you will be shot if you do not trespass, and it's a government sign. And I don't think they'd be scared to shoot you. It probably was something was seen there, and they're probably in both areas. But if I had to bet money on it, I'd say I would have to bet toward Sardis would make more sense to me. But Sardis, the backside of Sardis, 100 miles from there. I mean, I was told a long time ago, the Big Black River, kind of rolls about a 45-degree angle up to around West Point, if I'm not mistaken. It starts around West Point, I think. And y'all don't go to that river because I've claimed it as my own because it's a gold mine. But Grenada Lake's got them. The Pearl River flows into the reservoir. And there's boogers on, you get to the reservoir part of it, where all the fishing tournaments and all that happen. Yes, it's they're not right there, but I mean, you go right up to where, right before the river starts widening up, to make the reservoir, and then you go right back down on the other side of the spillway. They're all over it. I mean, I got a cousin that's got land about a half a mile in Rankin County from the Pearl River. I've seen a print, what I think was a print he's got 3 ponds on it stocked. Nobody lives there. I've seen what I thought was a print about a foot out into the water line. You could have, it was a smaller one too. But it was a time of year and I know his grandsons come out there and all that, but it just wasn't a time of year that they would have been out there in barefooted. And I don't think they would have let them be out there barefooted anyway. Because we do. I mean, you that close to the Pearl River, you're going to deal with some gators sooner or later. They're not going to be big, 3 or 4 foot, but you can't let a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old child get around a gator and not know it because a 3 or 4 or 5 foot is definitely going to take down a small child. But they're around every river around here, man. I mean, something I wanted to say about dogman. I'm one that doesn't believe that cynocephaly, and I probably said that a little bit wrong, and dogman. I don't think they're the same thing. They could be related, but you read about the dog-headed men back from biblical times. They were in communities. They still didn't communicate like we did, like we do, but they were in communities and they were a lot more human acting. These things we see today they don't have anything like the ones that you hear about from back then. And that's just a theory. That's just, me thinking about it, but too much probably. But people don't realize you get up in the old newspapers, there's pygmies, little people, dwarves, like Jeff's family. Dog-headed people.
We're not dwarves. I'm the shortest one. Everybody else is normal.
Everybody
size.
else is kind of tall. Yeah.
Man, don't. So you're saying that your healthy parents had a dwarf?
Slided
You
bunion.
probably left on the front doorstep.
Oh man!
But anyway,
I was laughing earlier. I don't know if anybody saw what Chad Black said about my spear. He's like, "What are you, Gimli from Lord of the Rings?"
I don't watch TV and I don't watch a whole lot of movies. I just started watching The Walking Dead in the last couple of months. From the start, I'd never seen one show of it, and never thought that I would actually be able to sit down every now and then and watch one. But I mean, it's fairly entertaining. But about the only TV I watch for the last 15 years, I mean, I watch a little. I mean, I used to watch football all day long on Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, I got into Bigfoot. I didn't care. I mean, I still liked football, but it was nothing like it. There's the desire to watch it was nothing like it used to be. I mean, shoot, let's go get in the truck and go ride the trace. And there's, a lot of things that happened up and down the trace, not even me being involved. And I broke down on the trace. Chev knows I broke down on the trace one night. I had done a call and I very ever seldom do a call by myself. A mile down the road, I did a call. I pulled in the next little turn in. I didn't get an answer, but I pull in the next little turn in. And there's a hole that's probably 4 or 5 foot deep, but the grass has grown up and they're just cutting right over it. So you can't even tell it's a hole. Well, I got a Tacoma, sits up, but it's a 2-wheel drive Tacoma. And of course, I'm sitting like that in it at 2 o'clock in the morning, pull tires up in the air. They don't have the money they cut so much of the funding out. The trace is not patrolled it's either 8 o'clock till 6 or 10 o'clock till 6 every night. There's nothing patrolling it. If you call the law, you're going to get a county cop and you're going to wait for them. And luckily I did have skillet. And I never got any kind of feelings that night of them and didn't hear anything about them being around, but I couldn't help but keep telling myself, you were just doing a call right down the darn road. And it was so funny because every 10 minutes, it was on Google telling me prices of winches. And I said, Chev, okay, I get it. I need a winch, but I ain't getting it tonight. Quit talking to me about winches, man. I was like, you're just making me feel stupider every time you say it. I'd have paid 3 times what it was worth if I could have got one that night. But I told Chev, I said, he's like, what are you going to do? I said, man, look, when the sun comes up, just a little bit. I said, the first redneck that comes by coming from Grand Gulf and Port Gibson back up to around Clinton or Jackson, I said, they're going to look over, see my truck, my pull tar up in there, and they're going to see that I already got a tow strap hooked to it, and I'm just sitting there waiting. I said, and they're going to stop. We hung up the phone, and less than 15 minutes later, I was messaging him on Messenger saying I'm headed to the house. And he said, you called that perfect. I said, people aren't going to pull over for you. I mean, it'd be hard for me to pull over. I will, with the dog and, some of the blades that I, carry, especially, they're not like this thing Jeff got me, but, I got a lot of, I don't know. I like knives and stuff. Hint, hint, David. The machete, short machete. Like I told Jeff last night, I said, man, I go to church tomorrow morning. I'm gonna have 3 knives in my suit pants. I said, I'm going to have one in each front pocket and one in my back left pocket every day, all day long. And they haven't ever really needed them, but I'm glad I got them if I ever do. That was our joke down here. People in Mississippi, we run towards gunshots and away from Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm not trying to dog out a Jehovah's Witness if you are one. It's just that's just the mentality of a lot of the folks in Mississippi. It's like gunshots will get our attention. We're walking through like, what's going on? And you see the Jehovah's Witnesses come around the corner. It's like, get in the house, get in the because I will admit, nothing against y'all, but y'all can, sometimes it's just like y'all stick the foot in the door. Y'all ain't gonna move it till y'all come in for a couple hours. And we ain't playing for that, But you think you would run from the other one and not that one, but yeah. Oh, the Missouri, Momo in Missouri. I would tell people back then, I was like, man, you remember that meme used to go around, or it may have been a picture of an actual person. And a lot of folks, for some reason, thought it was scary. I'm like, man, you're going to Walmart, Mississippi. This is when Walmarts were still open 24 hours all around the country. I mean, we see worse than that in Walmart at 2 o'clock in the morning, any night. Stuff is scarier than that. And it wasn't Momo. It was, I think they called this meme or this picture Momo, but it wasn't a Bigfoot. It was a crack-headed, heroin using looking white female. That's the only time folks like that. If you're like that and you're from Mississippi, that's when you go to Walmart. I'm not trying to say I was like that, but that's when I would go to Walmart. But I don't like dealing with the people. People are, how people are with shopping carts. They're rude.
Don't do a
I have a hard time holding my tongue. So. And it was nice to meet Chad too. When I met Chad at this last camp, Michael X met him. Haywood. I mean, saw Stevie and Moggs for the first time in a couple of years. Katie G and her husband camped right next to us. And if she's in the audience, I'm not being mean, Katie, but I'm gonna pick on her. It was kind of humorous listening to her and her husband go back and forth snoring, and I'm a snorer too, because they were both the same volume. It's like one would do, and then the other one would do, and it's like I can tell which one is which. I said, but they have the same volume, like they planned it or something. And I never knew Katie had her encounter like she had until she told it on Woodwalkers here a while back. But I was, I think we had been there a day and a half or 2 days before, and I had figured out it was her, and I was going to go up and shake her hand, but she saw me or walked up behind me when I'm talking to some other folks and actually introduced herself, before I had a chance to. But I was so glad she did. They were really, really good, just some nice people. Stacy Thrasher and her husband. I'm trying to go down the list. I mean, Flat Rod was there. Patrick, Robin Lynn Griffith. I've got a funny story about her. First camp out my dog ever went to at LBL. He was a little wild. He's still a little wild now, but he was a little wild then. But he was having the time of his life. But I'm camped across the dirt road from her, and all of a sudden I heard her say his name, Skillet. Oh, here I'm going, beelining for her tent. About that time, he comes out the front of her tent. Y'all, he's got a whole cooked chicken in his mouth. and he freezes, man. And all of a sudden he's Walter Payton, and I'm somebody on the level of Brian Bosworth. I wasn't nothing because he faked to the left, I bent to the left, and then he went to the right, and I fell down. And he's got bad separation anxiety, so he won't leave you. But he ran up on top of the side of a hill to keep me in view. And then I had to listen to him eat that whole chicken, praying that the bones aren't going to do what they probably could do. And to this day, I tell folks he loved and Billy Sealing, I've said that behind your back, not in a mean way, but I was like, he thought Billy tastes like chicken. But they call them hog dogs. They use them to hunt hogs, man. You can't give that dog pork, and he's gonna his demeanor changes when he takes. It's like you literally gave him drugs. I swear it is. He gets happier. He runs around crazy like wagging that tail, so forth. But he's a good pup. But that was the only time I ever let him run wild. And I'm gonna be honest with you, if Robin Lynn's dog would have got a hold, Sophia is her name. She's a pit that's about that wide. Well, you can't even see my hands. She's that wide. And Skillet loved her to death. I always tell Robin that was his first love, but she wanted to kill him. She wanted to kill him. And I know at one point in time he was getting on Moose's nerves, Bama's dog, and I hated it because I knew it was happening. But it was just so hard to stop sometimes, and I hadn't had him long. Because Moose is kind of like the mascot. I mean, he's the perfect dog too. Bama having
Chev said that Barry's dog runs through camp with a knife in his mouth.
Who said that? Misty?
No,
Chev.
Oh shit, yes. Misty was at that camp out, but they were kind of camped way away from everybody, and they kind of stayed to themselves. But she would always wave, and I'd always know that's the girl that's waving. It's the same girl that I always see my dog down there with. And yes, I didn't see this, but yeah, he come running through camp with a butcher knife. Hey, buddy, with a butcher knife in his mouth, and he's holding the handle in his mouth, not the blade, like he knows what he's doing. Hearing them talk about it was hilarious, but he saw Misty at this last camp out, has not seen her since. And I'm telling 75 yards away, he took one look at her and that tail started going. I'm like, yeah, I think he really, recognized her from that far away. Which wouldn't be, too outlandish for a dog to do. But she almost stole my dog at the last camp out. Y'all, I mean, she started petting on this dog, and his son gun was laying on his back with his legs up in the air, looking at me like, Daddy, it's been fun. You come visit, but I'm going home with this girl.
Oh man.
Misty's like that with animals, though. Even though she's 2 syllables from being feral. And yes, I've told her that before on her show, and I've verified that she did. It don't make her mad when I say it. She laughs about it.
Look at Billy.
Do what?
Billy said, "I'm glad he got that knife away from him before he decided I was a chicken."
Oh man.
For some reason, he doesn't like strangers with flashlights at night. And I'm pretty sure it was because Billy's good with dogs. Very good with dogs. And I don't think we were stern enough telling Billy turn the darn flashlight off. Because he death dog's going to react a little bit different, especially one that's a breed like that. Like I always say, it ain't a death chihuahua or a poodle. But Mitzi's dog's cool now. That's one of the cutest dog beagles I ever saw in my life. Every time
it's a lot better than my beagle.
It probably is. I mean, you live in a place where I don't even know how y'all got to be a state, man. Isn't the District of Columbia bigger than Maryland? Am I right about that?
I don't know. Maryland's bigger than DC.
You sure?
Pretty sure.
Big time.
Man, you don't know, man. You're a dwarf. Everything's big to you. Like a kid. Like when you're a kid, the world is so big. Everything still looks like that to Jeff. I love picking on Jeff.
I'm
You remember
6'3",
when
trust me.
Jeff
He's
was
smaller
reading
than
on
my
y'all's
brother.
channel? Jeff was reading on y'all's channel. And when I say this, I know Jeff is not illiterate, but some folks, when they go to read in public, they stutter a little bit, especially if you haven't got up in front of people and talked a lot. And I've done that a lot, working in the trucking jobs I've had, supervision and so forth. Having to get pre-shift meetings and all this stuff. Jeff started, and I hadn't talked to him maybe one time, and chatted with him in chat. He starts reading, and my dumb butt throws it in chat. You know what, Jeff? You read like you from Mississippi. And Jeff laughed his butt off and just kept going. And I'm like, you know what? I said, me and that guy gonna be friends. And I told Jeff the other day, that's the exact way Michael Haywood did me in Beach Chat one day. All of a sudden, they're telling me Michael Haywood said this, and I literally was like, that is hilarious. Who's Michael Haywood? That's how I met Michael, Michael Haywood. That's how, I knew I had heard the name or seen him once or twice, but he hit me the same way that I hit Jeff. But I'm the same way, and I'll make fun of you, but if you make fun of me, I'm going to laugh at it. It's funny,
No, Chad, it's not.
What's
If
that?
it is, it's going to be them, not me.
No 6 hours marathon.
No 6-hour marathon.
Although I'm capable of exceeding 6 hours, I'm not.
Oh.
Bullshit. I'll say it for
Thank
Barry.
you.
There you
I'm
go.
trying to be respectful. I'm trying to be respectful. Well, he might make it, but I mean, no, he wouldn't. Ain't no way. Jeff will fall asleep, y'all. He'll be talking.
Hillary,
15 seconds.
Maryland's not a hard state to diss. This state sucks. Let me just say
Does Hillary live there?
Different. Up here's not
I
bad.
Where we
And
are,
I didn't meet Hillary at the camp out she was at. I think I was there, but I just didn't meet her. But of course I see her around and say hey to her and all that. I didn't know she was from Maryland though.
No, she's in.
No, she's in West Virginia.
West Virginia's like Mississippi with mountains.
Pretty much.
It really is, y'all. It really, I mean, because they some wild ass people in West Virginia. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say it. There's some wild ass people in Mississippi too. I mean, you got to be.
I got plenty of relatives down
up there.
Do you?
I got plenty of
down
wild
here?
relatives.
Oh
There's
yeah.
places in West Virginia. I ain't going hunting again.
At least you're not related to Jeff though. You'd have that dwarf gene in you, But when I noticed, I was like, Jeff ain't 5'6".
Hillary
And nobody knows it. I said, but he
sits
sits up so tall in that chair. I was like, y'all, it's got to be a kid's chair. And I told him that this afternoon. And I was like, I got you again, Jeff. And just be lucky I ain't told him about the dog and what happened with it. And Jeff knows what I'm talking about. I can't say it. Jerry would cringe if I said it. Yeah, he told me something funny about a dog, and because I repeated it to him when he said it, and I said, "Did you just say this?" And he goes, "Yeah." I'm like, okay. You'll hear that again out of my mouth sooner or later, picking on you about it. Am I boring you, David Blaylock, or are you just sitting back taking it in?
Oh, I'm taking it all in.
I told Jeff, I was like, I mean, I was so stressed about coming on. I'm not stressed when I'm talking, but I'm usually got more, time to prepare. And then I had some stuff happen today that I didn't know I was going to have to do. And that's why I'm not back there on that computer, because I'm kind of using that bed back there to pile stuff up on as I'm cleaning out the closets in those two, in the spare bedroom and in my bedroom. I just didn't have it in me to come in and put all that stuff in it, or hide it where nobody could see it. But yeah, Jeff, I'm gonna tell everybody, Jeff hit me up last night, right before he thought he was fixing to fall asleep. And I'm not gonna say who it was, but I said, Jeff, you could ask this person. I will say it's a female. You could ask this person. And his exact reply, he did not bat an eye. He goes, "Oh, I wouldn't ask her this late."
Oh man.
You just asked me. Okay. I get it. You like me, but you don't respect me. I get it. No, Jeff. Yes,
You're the man, Barry. We love you.
No, David, like you know me. I don't like it when y'all say that. It makes me I don't know, man. I'm the most outgoing introvert you'll ever meet in your life. But
Introvert.
I am there, and there is a actual term for that, because somebody in somebody's chat one day enlightened me on that, and in a very snooty professor type way. And I'm like, well, that's good, but saying that the way I said it, everybody understood what I meant. But I mean, I could do this right now and then come on, like, and sit in David's spot tomorrow night and just listen. Most folks that can be a life of a party, they got to do it all the time, and it just I mean, I don't mind just sitting there being quiet either sometimes. Whether y'all think I can do it or not.
I love
I've seen you be
stories.
Do what?
I've seen you be quiet before.
Hmm? Where?
Uh,
You got cameras in my? Was I asleep? Dude,
I was just morning, I heard you.
I said I can't go camp by myself now because I'm scared. I was like, y'all, I would get literally bored to death. Because I'll be talking to myself. I mean, I already talked to a deaf dog. I mean, of course, I'm signing while I say the stuff, but I mean, I still talk to him. I talk for him to tell folks what he's thinking. And then I try to sell him on that I actually know what he's thinking. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I do.
I want some Mountain Dew now. Yep. Must
Yeah,
be the
I'm
Mountain
gonna do a
Dew.
Mountain Dew crash here in probably about an hour. But
What do you got, Jeffrey?
y'all are easy to talk to, and I love the way y'all do y'all show. Y'all don't take y'all self
She's
too serious.
messaging me because something's.
Really
She
bad.
heard some vocals behind her house.
Who did?
Misty did?
Misty, yeah, right now.
Probably something
Right
for
now,
Kimbo.
she's trying to record it, but tried sending it to me, but it's not coming through.
Wow.
Uh-oh. You froze up. Uh-oh.
Yep.
Uh-oh. I think Barry's done for the night.
Yep. I think that was it.
That's
A perfect catch, too.
What an awesome guest tonight, man. I mean, I knew he was going to be. Okay, he's back. He's still here.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. It's awesome.
Yep.
I tell Jeff, man, all you got to do is ask him one question about Bigfoot, and then about 5 hours later, we'll probably quit talking. And don't ever sit there and listen to me and Jeff Townsend talk about it, because before it's over with, we're both trying to talk louder than the other one.
Yeah.
And neither one
That's
of us
the problem when the two of us are trying to talk.
Yep.
I almost said it the other night to Jerry and Chad on y'all's show. I was like, sometimes Jeff don't. It's funny because Jeff won't get the hint, because Jeff will start talking about something, and I can just look at Jerry and it's like, oh man, Jerry's getting nervous. He's fixed to say something that he shouldn't say, and it's like Jeff just keeps on. And I just sit back there and laugh, and I was like, man, Jeff's hilarious.
Jeff
But
is hilarious.
Jeff kind of came on the screen. You know, I didn't realize that Jerry had been. You know, of course, I learned about your other channel. You ought to talk about that channel more too, man. I didn't realize you had done that. You know, for that long until I, kind of got to get to know Jeff pretty well.
Oh yeah, that's been, oh my God, forever.
What's your middle name, Jeff? Ted?
Well, my middle name is Amos.
It's what?
Amos.
Oh, wow, man. I ain't even tell you what that sounded like. It sounded like what you was talking about that dog last night. What is
I think it's time to wind her down. We're about to hit 3 hours.
Oh, really?
No,
I
just
got this deal going on my eye. I can't see Chad. I can't see Tom. I'm just in there talking, but I've had a great time, man. Y'all, I love the way I was saying the singer. Y'all, I love the way I do y'all show. Y'all don't take yourself too serious. Not that anybody else around us does, but stuff will happen, and I know that y'all don't get nervous about it. Y'all just roll with it. Y'all do a good job. At David and Jerry do a great job.
Sorry, Jeff.
Poor slighted bunyip.
Slighted bunyip he is.
Yeah. We love you, Jeff.
Yep.
I like this pretty good
been a
bit,
fun time.
He calls me every day about 5 of 9. So, but I don't have to look at the phone. I know who it is calling.
Yep.
It's all good.
All
All
right.
right.
If you ever have somebody cancel again, holler at me. I mean, I don't mind coming. I'll be.
Oh, you're coming back on, whether you want to or not.
You're coming back.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know you got. Where'd you go?
Be there.
I'm sorry.
Look at Paylac.
I lost y'all earlier because I tried to cut off a Wi-Fi and go to data, and I have no idea why. The phone's plugged in. I don't know, whatever. But
We're on
yeah,
Eastern
I can
time.
make any time, man.
It's
But
getting
try
late.
to get Jeff to give me more than 22 hours notice.
Right.
Most like Greg House would not need that. I like to have it because I like to be a little bit more planned out.
We pulled Greg in before what? In like 2 hours.
We pulled Greg in like 5 minutes off of
5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We said that this afternoon, Jeff. Because I told you, I said he can do that. I said I could do it. I said, but I'm not going to be happy until we get on the show and start talking about everything. Oh, matter of fact, I called Jeff some names last night on the phone, and after we hung up. And this morning he called me, and I saw it, and I said, yeah, I'm gonna make you sweat, Jeff. I didn't answer him for 5 or 6 hours.
Oh man!
But on Jeff's behalf, he's been trying to get me on here for 2 or 3 weeks, and every time he get to the weekend, I'd quit answering the call. Oh, I have something going on that I was worried about.
Well, if you've got a plan to do a show, you did all right tonight. That's for damn sure.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I didn't, man. The gift of gab. It either gets on folks' nerves or they appreciate it. It's a coin flip.
I mean, we ain't got to talk about Bigfoot. We just sit here and cut on people or whatever. It don't matter to me.
Yep.
So I got a bunch of stuff I can tell you on Jeff that you probably already know. But
let me tell you.
If anybody else wants to know it in the audience, y'all just email me or hit me up on Messenger. I'll tell you.
I went over there yesterday, dropped off a bunch of empty egg cartons. I'm looking at all these steaks laying in the cooler, and ain't nobody there to take my money.
So man, boxes for Jerry.
What's
He's
that?
always got an excuse.
Yeah, it's the kind of guy you'll sit. He'll call you. He'll call you early in the morning, and you'll hear something. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said no one's there to handle anything. It's called self-serve, Jerry.
They call that thieving in Mississippi.
No, I pay.
Jeff's the kind of guy call you in the morning, 6:30 my time, 7:30 and it's like, what is that metal sound I keep hearing? He said it's the milk hitting the bottom of the pail, and I'm like, holy cow! I didn't even think about your milking cow.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jeff's a he's a unique individual, man. I like that. I like all y'all. Y'all are good. Y'all are all great. David. How's Dee Dee doing, David?
She's doing good. She's
doing some more physical therapy on her knee that she had replaced. It was kind of acting up after we got back from hunting. And so she's doing some physical therapy. But other than that, she's doing really good.
Well, great.
Awesome.
I'll shut up now, Jerry.
Oh, you're okay. I'm just going to pull the plug. It's 11 o'clock here, so we're gonna. I don't know how much longer we can keep toothpicks on his eyelids. So
I'm not gonna say anything. This time.
this time, man, chat was awesome tonight. Chat was very busy. Appreciate that.
Was it good? I hate I couldn't see who was in there.
Oh,
You know.
it's super busy there for like.
Very bad. I had trouble. There was a lot of questions I didn't get asked, and I apologize to people for that. I had him there ready to go, but I wasn't going to break in and stop him. He was just on a roll, and I wasn't going to stop him. So,
Yep.
If anybody had one, and it's not that I know any more than anybody else, just shoot me something on Messenger. You know, I'll tell you what I believe. You know,
so Jeff is in contact with Jennifer Andrews that was in the chat tonight, and first time I've seen her in chat. Sounds like she may have some interesting childhood stuff up, even through fairly current, I guess. So we're going to work on getting her scheduled and get her.
I'm the group.
Yeah, he's the groupie. Jeff's the groupie.
I'm the recruiter.
He's the BSer. He's the BSer, the recruiter.
He's the BSer.
he ain't tall
He's,
enough.
he's the one that runs around with all the bling on, you know, trying to hire people.
Was Spencer in chat tonight?
No.
Spencer don't watch us. We're minimal.
You want me to say it, Jeff?
Go ahead.
You know, Spencer kind of reminds me like the Caucasian Medea. I've been thinking that for about a half a week. I was like, man, I don't know why that popped into my head, but I was like, but I love picking on Spencer. I love picking on Spencer, but I think sometimes I go to. I don't think he minds it in person, but at the camp house and stuff, I kept asking him about raffling that camper off. Like me and him had talked about it, and the 17 times after the first 3, he acted like I didn't even exist. You know, but that's why I was doing it. You know, but he's a good sport. Man. He's a good sport.
He's lucky. He's lucky I wasn't there because I had plans for that camper.
You know, I did too, but I got there and got to meeting people, and I never did any of it. You know, I know what Greg had talked about doing, and I love that idea.
See this?
Yeah.
Here's how I know we're doing good. Whenever you go from a good show to an excellent show because we're picking on Spencer, Misty says it's an excellent show. We did our job. So
watch it, girl. We'll pick on you too. Bye. She was on her show and said, you know, we saw a bear, and I straight faced her and said, what kind of animal was it? And she said, a bear. And I had 25 people message me saying, I cannot believe you got her to repeat that, and she had no idea what you were doing. I was like, man, she got a great sense of humor. She does.
I aggravate these two beside us. They always say bears with an S. Bears.
And I got to meet JR. I had met JR, but I got to talk to him at length this time. Jam up guy. You got lucky with him.
JR is awesome. I love JR.
He is.
I should be down there. I should be in White Pine, Tennessee this weekend, but I'm not. But maybe next year. Maybe next year.
Who knows, man? 2 weeks, we may not be able to have a show like this. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? We'll leave that as that. Just keep praying, y'all. Just keep praying. Stay prayed up, man. Because no matter what, half the country's going to be pissed no matter what.
Yep.
I ain't voted since 2000. I ain't voted since 2004, and I'm not going to start back this year. I mean, but I know one guy. The economy seems to run better than the other. You know, I still think that it's just. I think it's like professional wrestling. I'll be honest. I just think they're playing their part. So that's just me. But I mean, it was great. Yeah, if y'all let me keep going, and I mean, I'll have y'all up here till that. And my dog's looking at me like they didn't been to pee in the carpet if you'll come over. So, but thanks for having me on, Jay. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it for sure, and definitely want you back on. I know there's.
And you're welcome, Jeff.
Thanks. This is one of the best ones we've had.
I keep trying to hint around about Greg and Misty have. I was like, man, me and Greg and Misty could get on there late night and then just get to jaw. And I said, ain't no telling the stuff. I mean, I was like, we'll make some people, cackle for it's over with.
I believe they're having a Halloween show Thursday night, so I'm going to try
Yeah.
to check into that.
It'll
Yeah,
be entertaining, I'm sure.
I guarantee it. I'm going to try to be on there for a little while anyway. Yeah, check it
Yeah.
out. Okie dokie. What do you think, here, Mr. Blaylock? All good, brother.
Good.
All good, man.
All
I
right,
love it.
that's the
It's a good
quietest you've
show,
ever
Barry.
been.
He makes me nervous when he's quiet like that because
He
he's not
taking it
an
all.
overly talkative guy, but he usually talks a little bit more. But I know I didn't give him a chance to.
He
But I
lives
try
a
to
thing
talk
far
about as
away.
much as I can, you know what I mean? And when you're just shooting at different times in the last 15, 20 years, but we covered a good bit of it though. So, but everybody have a great night. Everybody that's still in the audience out there, I can't see you, but
Yep.
thank you for being here. I always thank everybody for being here. It's very humbling to think that anybody would want to listen to this DA from Mississippi talk about this stuff. But it's I love that y'all do it. It's very humbling. I don't think I don't appreciate it.
Wealth of knowledge. We want to hear more. So we'll definitely be getting you back on, brother.
I
Definitely.
appreciate it, man. Anytime.
Awesome. All right. Thank
Thanks,
you, sir.
Barry.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Jeffrey. You all right, David?
Yeah, my dogs are going nuts. Get in
That's all
here.
right.
Come on.
That's all right. Please, you're welcome on any time. Yeah, Misty, we're going to come check it out Thursday night for sure. You bet.
Yep.
Okay, guys, gals, hang tight. We'll be right backstage here. Everybody else, probably nothing next Tuesday, obviously. The wife has alternative plans for me next Tuesday, so hopefully we're doing a big celebration dance. So, what's that? There's. Uh-oh.
92 pounds of spoiledness. Y'all listen to it. Watch this. I can hit him on his butt, and he's gonna go out this door like there's somebody out in the backyard. I don't know how I taught him to do that, but he does it. But yeah, hey, thanks again, y'all.
Yep.
Or unless we're backstage already.
No, we're not. We're still live. Be
It's
careful. We're still
live.
live. All right, everybody, chat.
Larry
Thank you.
Porsche, Yeah.
What do you say?
Y'all hit that thumbs up, y'all, and y'all share it. If y'all got any time, share it where you can, y'all. I mean, these dudes do a good job, man. They should have more subscribers than they got.
Oh, look, Flat Rock made an appearance. Hey, Flat Rock.
Did he
Hey,
really?
Flat Rock. Good to see you again.
It was great to see him at the camp out.
Yep.
By Flat Rock, yeah. Well, they'll have to catch a show in its entirety, I guess. All right.
Greg must have had to take one of those
Let's-
infamous Coonbo phone calls.
Uh-oh. Oh yeah, he disappeared for a while too, didn't he?
That's
Yeah.
usually where he goes.
Yeah.
Here,
I
that
think
is
we need
that-
to have the ultimate show. Hear me out. Let's have the ultimate show. We'll do a special. Maybe we'll do our first Beards and Boogers show. We'll get Barry, we'll get Greg, we'll get Coombo, and we're just gonna sit off in a corner by ourselves and just let them have at it.
That's awesome.
Let them run.
idea.
Let them run. Roger's
That's when
6-hour marathon would be nothing.
I've done a show with Kumbo, and it's hard for me to talk because as long as he keeps talking, I just sit there and listen. I do just like David's been doing tonight. It's like, but he's
Thank you,
royalty,
Jack.
man.
Good night, brother. Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's we got to think about that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll buy the fake beard for David, so he's got some beard hanging down there.
Oh man.
I might have to get one for Barry too.
Yeah.
Now, I'll do mine a different way.
I'll do mine differently.
I'll be River Morrison. It'll
It'll be a River Morris.
I'll have an
Yeah.
herbal adjustment. I'll have an herbal adjustment if I want to.
Herbal adjustments.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. Again, no show next Tuesday. Probably a week after that, I'm sure Jeff will get something lined up. So,
Unless, well,
We're
I'm not
working
going
on
to
that
line
now.
anything up unless you tell me to, Jerry, because
Next,
that way we're
not next Tuesday, the week after.
yeah, the
Yeah.
week after.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think we should be open by then now. So we're good to go. Till then, thanks everybody.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.